In this world, there's a place called Misty Rain Pavilion. It's the #1 assassination organization under heaven. Here, as long as you have money, you can buy anyone's head. Its leader, Li Qingji, is a peerless prodigy. But what the world doesn't know is, this Misty Rain that decides life and death in the shadows was actually founded by Li Qingji's younger brother, Li Zian. Born with all 8 meridians blocked, he was a useless waste. Yet he insisted on learning martial arts. But his family was too wealthy, and actually let him bring back a beautiful master. Just days ago, a storyteller appeared on the street, telling of 5 peerless prodigies across the 9 provinces. 4 of them already had masters. The last one was Li Zian, son of the Li family, a genius of the highest caliber. It said that Jian Qi wanted to take him as a disciple. But after reading his resignation letter, he said, the storyteller suddenly paused, leaving everyone in suspense. Urged on by the crowd, he smirked wickedly and said, Li Zian has the makings of a sword immortal. I, Yu Jian, am unworthy to be his mentor. The crowd erupted at those words. A rumor starts with 1 person, 3 repeat it, and it becomes belief. 5 make it truth. In just 3 months, the rumor spread from Yuzhou City like wildfire. Meanwhile, in the Li family's backyard, our protagonist calmly sipped tea. The rumor he had spread had reached its intended audience. A breeze scattered the plum blossoms. A beauty descended from the sky. The girl was a martial prodigy, Qin Yiluo, the very person Li Zian had been waiting for. He knew the immortal sought a genius to take as a disciple. As a martial arts failure, he had to create false rumors to muddy the waters. Thankfully, the bait had worked. Qin Yiluo stepped forward and asked, do you wish to become my disciple? Upon hearing a firm yes, she slowly laid out her terms. You may become my disciple, but you must pass a test first. The first trial was to craft a unique sword. Watching Qin Yiluo leave, the servants shivered in awe of the task. How do you plan to pass the first trial? Li Zian grinned, ear to ear. His family was famously wealthy. There was nothing money couldn't solve. That night, Li Yue came to Qin Yiluo's room with a sack, hoping to win over the immortal with money. He first explained his intentions, then unveiled the treasure he'd brought. The perfect match for a master. Any guidance, immortal? Qin Yiluo was silent for a moment and replied, just do your best. On the appointed day, amidst a flurry of plum blossoms, the immortal arrived, sword beneath her feet, a being of otherworldly grace, untainted by mortal dust. Li Zian eagerly presented a golden sword. Please have a look, immortal. Qin Yiluo examined it for a while, then calmly nodded. Forging swords isn't about the object itself. The answer is acceptable. You pass. The Li household rejoiced. Li Yue muttered beside them. It's made of gold, and she says he's not obsessed with worldly things. Truly, money makes the world go round. The second trial, create an original sword technique for your future wife. Everyone was stunned by those words. At that moment, the third prince entered the room. Li Zian sensed trouble immediately. Sure enough, the prince had come to steal his master. Qin Yiluo said nothing more, just left behind the same trial before leaving. Before coming to Yuzhou, I'd heard much of Brother Xian's reputation. Today I see it's well-deserved. Li Zian didn't dare accept the praise, instead flattering the prince's valor and charm, and probing for information. May I ask how many levels of divine burial you've opened? When he heard the second level, the youth felt the gap between them. He hadn't opened even one. The third prince was surprised by the news. After all, the rumors around town said otherwise. Yet the rumors spread like wildfire. After some awkward pleasantries, the third prince gracefully took his leave. Watching that faintly aggressive figure leave, Li Zian guessed he must have another agenda in Yuzhou. The sun rose. Thin clouds veiled the sky. The second round of the first to perform was the third prince. His sword moved like thunder and a rainbow streak. Mu Yao's blade gleamed like purified green light. Zhao Mujian unleashed 10 moves in quick succession. Li Baiwan nudged his son's arm in secret, asking how he judged the sword technique. Li Zian stood frozen, unable to decide. A moment of cheating. Mu Yao approached and asked for his opinion. Qin Ana commented, saying he had the makings of a sword immortal, then suddenly changed tone. Though the technique was good, most of the moves were traceable and learned, not original. Li Zian gave a few fake compliments to the prince, trying to appear generous, but it backfired. Qin Ana ended up taking back his praise. Li Zian twitched at the mouth, wishing he could slap himself. Sharp tongue aside, there was still business to attend to. Next, it was his turn. The young man drew his sword. Xuanji stepped forward. With each step, his footwork turned, fluid yet precise, changing at the perfect beat. A sword free of desire, struggle, or ambition. True mastery. That performance left Qin Ana shocked. It was the legendary Taiji, sword of the grandmasters. Above Li Zian, thunder and rainbow lights flashed faintly. Even the heavens seemed to acknowledge his brilliance. Both participants passed this round. Then Chin-Ana suddenly said, "Tomorrow at this hour, the two of you shall duel. I will take the victor as my disciple." Li Zian's face tensed, mind sinking deep. On the contrary, Mu Yao smiled faintly, relieved in her heart. As the sun set and the moon rose, two figures stood in the rear courtyard, staring at the drunken sword maniac. Li Zian asked if there was any way. The old man replied the gap was too wide. A fight was unwinnable, unless... Before he finished, the boy said his house had everything. Anything usable would be used. The sword maniac bluntly suggested killing the third prince. That way, he'd win without fighting. Li Zian found that idea quite agreeable. He immediately offered heavy gold and fine wine to hire the sword maniac as an assassin. Zhang He sneered and walked in the prince's room. The candle was suddenly snuffed out. A figure leapt out instantly. In that moment, the old man suppressed the opponent's strength, beating the prince to vomit blood in 2 moves. Just then, a blade light slashed through the air. The sword maniac swiftly dodged. With a spin, he leapt out the window. Chin-Ana chased closely behind, until they both stopped at one spot. The famed sword maniac was actually doing. "Did that Li kid send you?" The old man smiled faintly. "That little Li family money isn't even worth my glance." Then he quickly vanished. The next day, everyone gathered at the Li residence. But the third prince was nowhere to be seen. Only after a while did a servant report. Mu Yao was seriously injured and couldn't attend the duel. As the time passed, Li Zian was naturally declared the winner. After announcing him as disciple, Chin-Ana turned to the sword maniac. "I'm curious, why did you help him?" The old man gave a strange smile. "For the same reason as you, money." Chin-Ana immediately protested loudly. "I chose him for his martial potential." It sounded like utter fantasy. The sword maniac burst out laughing. "Martial potential? Why don't you check his meridians first?" Realizing something was wrong, Chin-Ana grabbed Li Zian's arm. "All 8 meridians are blocked." The man was trash among trash, yet packaged into a legendary sword genius. Who knew? Once his master found out his state, the stunning female master simply threw him naked into a room to bathe together. Xuanji struck out with a palm. Li Zian let out a pig-like scream. It sent chills down everyone. When he opened his eyes again, he saw his female master looking seductive. "You've recovered 30% of your meridians. That's a promising start." Just as Li Zian was stunned, Li Yue suddenly pushed the door open. "Sister, why didn't you announce yourself before entering?" Wen Yin showed no sign of embarrassment. Her eyes were fixed on him. "I've watched you grow up. There's nothing I haven't seen. I came to tell you this. The third prince has arrived." This made Li Zian visibly displeased. He really wanted to know what that guy was up to. In the Li family's main hall, Mu Yao quietly sipped tea. Seeing the young man ask about his injuries, the third prince's face froze. "My injuries won't stop me from defeating someone with unopened potential." Li Zian countered with a veiled jab. Mu Yao set down his teacup. "I've shown my sincerity. You should secretly sign up too. Li family's perfume and glass business still lacks partners, right? Then I'll offer you 3. Changsun Trade Alliance. 1 from any bank. All are open for cooperation. Sometimes, you have to bow under a low roof." Li Zian had no choice but to agree on the surface. Once the third prince left, Li Yue emerged from behind the screen. "Why is the royal family targeting us?" The young man let out a deep sigh. Suddenly, a sharp sword flew toward him. At such a close range, it nearly cost Li Zian his life. "Look at you, so scared. Come with me." Watching the boy follow timidly, Jian Qi suddenly appeared and asked, "Fairy Qin just took in a disciple yesterday, and now you want to get him killed?" Qin Yi Luo paused in silence. Jade must be polished to become a gem. To defeat Huolinger, he must push himself. Following his master's steps, Li Zian entered the deep mountains. She said it was for herb gathering, but handed him a sword. As he stood confused, a band of bandits suddenly charged from afar. "Go on, disciple, I believe in you," she said, and shoved Li Zian forward, then took off herself. Seeing the bandits charge like madmen, Li Zian came to his senses and cursed while fleeing. "Old Qin, screw you." Spotting a giant boulder, the boy quickly hid behind it. Like a bullied little beast, he trembled all over. Suddenly, a sword aura cut through the air, with a loud bang. It struck the boulder in front of Li Zian. The loud noise was deafening. It immediately alerted 4 or 5 nearby bandits. The boy was scared out of his wits. Even while fleeing, he kept cursing. "Qin Yi Luo, you're absolutely heartless." Just then, a bandit caught up with Li Zian. His iron blade slashed down directly. In a panic, the boy dodged to the side, but the bandit tried a sneak attack. Li Zian quickly raised his sword to block, yet the bandit's kick sent him flying. He rolled several meters away, looking utterly pathetic. From the treetops in the distance, Qin Yi Luo frowned at the scene. This boy, is he really this useless? The bandits attacked again. Li Zian was at his limit. Seeing the boy shut his eyes, a bandit seized the chance to kill him. In that life or death moment, Li Zian suddenly reacted. He grabbed his sword and slashed in an instant. The attacking bandit was instantly killed. Looking at the falling corpse, the boy experienced killing for the first time. 3 more bandits rushed over from nearby. Seeing this, they were furious. They were determined to silence Li Zian for good. The boy stood no chance fighting them all alone. So he chooses the best of the 36 stratagems, flee. As the sun sets and night falls, a bloodstained yellow box is discovered. While Qin Enliuo is relieved he didn't meet a bad end, a wine jar comes flying at high speed. Fortunately, she dodges it with a sidestep. But at that moment, a burly man charges from like a cannonball rushing forward. Qin Enliuo's brow furrows slightly, and with a casual wave, a powerful sword chi slices through the air. With a boom, it sends the burly man flying 10 yards. I'll spare you today. Someone else will come for your life later. Looking at this meridian-opened bandit, Qin Enliuo suddenly thinks of her useless disciple. This bandit would be perfect for the kid to practice on. Following the sword chi into the deep forest, the scene before her shocks her greatly. A slender teenage figure sits there, covered in blood, panting heavily. Qin Enliuo tentatively calls out, "Disciple." The Sangyan's forehead is bleeding. How does it feel to kill for the first time? Li Zai shakes his head, saying it feels a bit nauseating. Fairy Master, you did this on purpose, didn't you? Qin Enliuo doesn't deny it, responding with silence. Looking at a distant carriage, Li Zai thinks he can finally rest. As he excitedly lunges forward, he's kicked away, falling flat on his face. You haven't even mastered killing, and you want to ride? Walk back to Yuzhou yourself. Li Zai swallows his curses, and obediently walks back to the Li residence. Seeing his precious son return, Li Baiwan rushes forward. My little ancestor, your dad was worried sick. Are you okay? Li Zai points at his disheveled state, exasperated. Do I look okay to you? He glares at the nonchalant Qin Enliuo. A delicate box is handed to him. When Li Zai sees what's inside, his expression changes. Fairy Master, I love you the most. Come, let's hug. Qin Enliuo gives him a menacing look, scaring the Shounen into backing off. He kneels with a thud, thanking her for the gift. Watching the Li father and son walk away, Sword Maniac suddenly appears. Did he really kill all those dozen bandits alone? Are you sure you didn't help? Qin Enliuo calmly says he's a prodigy. This elicits a scornful laugh from Sword Maniac. A prodigy with all his meridians blocked. The fairy's expression remains indifferent. She asks Sword Maniac how long it took him to adjust after his first kill. When he says a day, she immediately adds, look at him. He can joke casually. Could you have done that back then? Sword Maniac's expression falters. He understands Qin Enliuo's implication. Looks like this kid is indeed something special. After the chat, the fairy barges in again. This startles the young boy. As Qin Enliuo approaches, without any words, she strikes his chest with a palm. Instantly, a sword chi creates a 3-foot splash. It seems the task is truly complete. At the Li family's backyard, Qin Enliuo tosses her disciple a martial manual. This is the non-immortal technique. Aside from the first sword immortal, no one has ever mastered it. Li Zai knows he learns slowly, so he repeatedly declines. But Sword Maniac mocks from the side. You, a trash with only 3 meridians open, will be slow no matter what you practice. This remark ignites Li Zai's defiance. He roars that he'll definitely master it. The useless Xiaoyan vows to defy fate. Now, with a beautiful master guiding him daily, and Sword Maniac secretly killing for him, he's even obtained a peerless technique. Soon, he'll reach the pinnacle of life. Li Zai takes the parchment and diligently memorizes the cultivation method. After about a dozen breaths, the Shounen looks up and says, I've memorized it. I've got it. This shocks Sword Maniac, his jaw dropping. You memorized it in such a short time? Qin Manhua smiles faintly. She picks up her sword and steps forward slowly. Disciple, watch closely. As her words, the fairy dances with her sword, petals and leaves swirling. Her Qing Shuang sword gleams, dazzling the eyes. Sword chi stretches 300 yards. While Li Zai is lost in awe, Sword Maniac joins in, carrying his gourd. A gourd and a sword, brimming with heroic spirit, as if recreating the legendary sword god's glory from 1,000 years ago. After half a session, the wind stops, and night settles. The sword light fades, and all returns to calm. Looking at the 2 formidable seniors, Li Zai humbly asks, how long will it take me to reach your level? The answer, 30 years, makes the Shounen's face turn ashen. And to catch up to the first sword god, about 300 years. A few brief words leave a deep mark in Li Zai's heart. Even if it takes 1,000 or 10,000 years, he'll master it. Under the cover of night, the Shounen sneaks into the bandit camp, intending to practice on a few bandits. He unwittingly alerts the bandit leader. Suddenly, a group of bandits rushes frantically toward one spot. This scares Li Zai into fleeing. In an instant, the entire forest comes alive. Search for him, even if you have to dig 3 feet deep. Find that kid. Watching the crowd scatter, The Shounen realizes his chance has come. He leaps at a lone bandit. With a flash of crimson, the night is stained red. At that moment, the bandit leader senses something and looks back. He swings his axe toward the target. Sword and axe clash, but the bandit leader plays dirty. With a punch, Lee's eye spits blood, sliding 50 meters across the ground. The bandit leader gives him no time to recover, following up with another kick. As the enemy closes in, the Shounen has no time to dodge. He's sent flying dozens of meters again. Looking at the Shounen with closed eyes, seemingly lifeless, the bandit leader grows fearless. He prepares to leave. Blood-red eyes suddenly open. With a thrust of his sword, the careless foe is pierced through the heart. Lee's eye has no time to celebrate. He hurries to escape, forcing his trembling body. He finally reaches Ima's side, then departs swiftly. When Lee Baiwan opens the door, he sees his son barely clinging to life. Manhua is also shocked. She suggests immediate medicinal treatment. With the transfer of cultivation techniques, the Shounen-s breathing stabilizes. Sword Maniac's face shows admiration, but then he notices something. This is the Crimson Fire Divine Iron, a divine object, but it can't be refined or forged into a weapon. Hearing this, Manhua falls into thought. How did such a thing end up in a mere bandit's hands? Yujo is truly an extraordinary place. Suddenly, the Shounen coughs up clotted blood. His expression gradually eases. Seeing Sword Maniac's stunned look, he can't help but tease. Not dying must disappoint you. Seeing her disciple is fine, Manhua quietly leaves. This battle makes Lee's eye sense something amiss. Go tie up the bandit leader for me to interrogate. Sword Maniac demands 500 bottles of osmanthus wine. For the sake of the plan, the Shounen reluctantly agrees. Under the high night sky, in the time it takes to yawn, Sword Maniac brings the target, tossing him aside like garbage. Lee's eye, intimidated but assertive, questions loudly. The E family. I stole it from the E family. The bandit leader sweats profusely, nervous. He doesn't seem to be lying. Lee's eye leans forward aggressively, questioning again. What's your connection to them? The bandit leader recounts an old tale. He's an illegitimate son of the E family. They killed his mother and tried to kill him. In desperation, he fled. Hearing this, the Shounen feels a stir of sympathy. Since he's an enemy of the E family, why not keep him as a backup plan? Thinking of this, he made a promise. I'll help you escape danger. How about you serve me for 5 years? The bandit leader was reluctant to trust him, but seeing it as the only way out, he gritted his teeth and agreed. The only condition was, can you shorten it to 3 years? Lee's eye readily agreed on the spot. Then he asked a question he'd been holding back for a long time. Do you know how to melt this crimson fire iron? The bandit leader left one sentence. One family might know. Then he quickly departed. The next day, as dawn faintly broke, the door was kicked open again. This familiar feeling made Lee's eye shudder with dread. The visitor was Sister Hongju. The woman set down her sword. The next second, she climbed onto the boy. Her expression was shy, her hands restless. Her words carried a teasing tone. Little Zai, you've really grown up, huh? The young virgin was thoroughly startled. Blushing, he asked what was going on. This is the pure military sword the second young master gave you, and he asked me to bring you a message. Everything is ready. As soon as she finished speaking, Manhua suddenly burst in. He said they now needed to find a rare herb. They had to head to the capital immediately. Meanwhile, in the Lee residence, a maid was hurriedly delivering a message. Young miss, that prince who's been pestering you is here again. Li Yue angrily threw her cup and stood up. She intended to order him expelled, but the maid was slapped away. Why won't you agree, miss? Are you dissatisfied with my betrothal gifts? Tell me what you want, and I'll get it all for you. Just don't keep me at a distance. Facing this shameless rogue, Li Yue immediately cited the Li family rules. But people are alive, and rules are dead. The prince naturally wouldn't agree. Men, tie up the beauty and take her away. Clear laugh came from afar. Hongju Jing unexpectedly descended from above. She urged the man to back off, but the rogue grew even more brazen. Oh, another little beauty. Why not come home with me? Hongju smiled lightly. You'd have to ask if she agrees. The prince abruptly turned his head, only to receive a solid slap, followed by a kick that nearly ended his line. Seeing his elder sister ignored, Li Zai decided to teach this wretched prince a lesson. He immediately drew his sword. Against the defenseless prince, he unleashed a merciless beating. The boy walked up to the prince and said, will you leave on your own, or shall I throw you out? The rogue who harassed decent women was kicked flying by her younger brother. With your pathetic, needle-like strength, what face do you have to propose marriage? The prince, beaten to a pulp, couldn't save face. Crying, he ran home to his father for help. At this time, the third Prince Muzhao was nearby. Hearing of this, a smile crept across his face. This cousin of mine is such a fool. Li Zai even dares to hit me, a royal prince. How could he spare a mere prince like you? Chen Yifei fell to his knees with a thud, relentlessly begging his father for help. The old man didn't intervene directly. Instead, he hinted subtly. Don't you have plenty of thug friends? At these words, a glint flashed in Chun Yifei's eyes. He turned and knelt before his cousin, begging him to lure that Li kid out. Seeing the third prince hesitate, he stood up, dropping the act. My father has always supported you in court. This small favor isn't too much, is it? With the matter pressed this far, Mu Zhao felt displeased, but had no choice but to take a carriage to the Li residence. Seeing the third prince's arrival, Li Zai wasn't surprised, but this man came faster than expected. Under Mu Zhao's guidance, the two headed together to the capital streets. Just as Li Zai is caught, Chun Yifei points ahead and orders, "Brothers, it's him. Get him." The Shounen scoffs at this. A bunch of useless trash. Why fear them? After quietly getting the third prince's approval, Li Zai steps forward in a few strides. Amidst screams of agony, all the stubborn disciples brought by Chun Yifei are knocked to the ground. Only the heir is spared, barely alive. The third prince smiles, thanking Li Zai for giving him face. Otherwise, the heir would surely be dead. At this moment, Chun Yifei's legs tremble, yet his mouth still spews threats. I know you're entering the Grand Academy. We'll see about that when the time comes. Li Zai ignores the mad dog's barking, instead walking calmly with the third prince. At that moment, a streak of red flashes through the air. The newcomer wears a red robe, her face carrying a hint of killing intent. Are you the Li family's heir, disciple of Qin and Yuo? I am Tao Yaoyao, the Luosha king. Please stay. Li Zai, shocked, hurriedly bows in respect. Greetings, fifth king. Do you know my master? The woman sneers, saying they're enemies. A chill runs down Li Zai's spine. Damn, am I really this unlucky? Old Qin, you're trying to get me killed. The Luosha king doesn't act immediately, but when she sees the Li kid trying to slip away, her expression darkens. Stop. Did I say you could leave? Is it true you created your own sword technique at 10? Li Zai vehemently denies it, but the Luosha king gathers energy in her palm. Facing the approaching danger, Li Zai instinctively unleashes a faint golden-red aura, instantly moving 9 steps away. Seeing the long-lost flying, immortal technique, Tao Yaoyao's eyes flash with surprise. But Li Zai remains neither servile nor overbearing. Your grudge with my master has nothing to do with me. If you're unsatisfied, seek her out in the city. Attacking a junior would be beneath your status. This leaves Tao Yaoyao slightly embarrassed. She waves her hand, dismissing the matter. Watching the Shounen's departing figure, a glimmer of light flickers in her eyes. The one praised by others is indeed extraordinary. Meanwhile, on the other side, Li Zai hasn't gone far before being stopped by several people. Is there no end to this? Can't the ones picking a fight come all at once? What a hassle. The two disciples have no intent to attack. They've come to invite the Shounen to the Grand Academy. Li Zai readily agrees, somewhat surprising the two. Coming to their senses, they respectfully lead the way. Arriving at the Grand Academy, the Shounen bows to the elders in the office. Junior Li Zai greets the 4 elders. One elder, cold in demeanor, immediately questions if the Shounen knows his crime. This leaves Li Zai utterly confused. Using private punishment to beat our Grand Academy students is a grave offense. At these words, the Shounen can't help but laugh. He bluntly says it was self-defense. If one day foreign enemies invade Great Sham, occupy our land, and kill our people, should I hold back? Unable to argue back, one elder even considers forcing a confession, as several disciples enter the hall with staves. No trace of fear appears in Li Zai's eyes. Instead, he loudly challenges, "Who dares? I'm not a student of your Grand Academy. Why should I be punished? Do your rules override the kingdom's laws?" The disciples, holding staves, exchange hesitant glances, caught in a dilemma. To strike or not to strike, neither seems right. At that moment, applause rings out from outside the enforcement hall. A man strides in. Dressed in a Confucian robe, his face stern, he walks step by step to the main. The 4 previously arrogant elders shrink back. They immediately stand and bow. The sect leader merely waves his hand. The 4 hurriedly leave. The man shows no intent to blame. Instead, he asks if Li Zai wishes to join the Grand Academy. The Shounen, surprised, scratches his ear, saying he'll think it over. Watching the Li kid's departing figure, Rusho stepped out from behind the screen. He didn't agree? Forget it, let him be. He'll agree when the time is right. By the way, your disciple is too rigid. Better let him hang around Li Zai more. Back in the Li garden, the young man was still enjoying his tea. Suddenly, a servant burst in frantically. "Young master, urgent news." After the servant finished speaking, Li Zai spat out his tea in shock. He immediately ordered the important guest be invited in. The man in white looked refined and gentle. He cupped his hands and asked brotherly to take him in. At that moment, Red Candle peeked out and said this man was by Wang Yu, extremely strong, also the top disciple of the Confucian sect's elder, and had already opened his 3rd divine reserve. Li Zai looked visibly shaken. People like that really make you feel useless. He was initially wary of a trap, but once he learned by Wang Yu was honest to a fault, he reluctantly agreed. After all, having another bodyguard wasn't a bad deal, as long as he followed the rules of the Lee Garden. Li Zai took the man in white into the courtyard, then turned around and said playfully, "Why don't we spar a bit? Let's both suppress our cultivation to early first realm. Wouldn't want to hurt each other." Seeing Bai Wanyu nod so seriously, Li Zai suddenly felt a little guilty, but he overthought it. Even after using his hard-practiced Facian scroll, he still couldn't survive more than 3 moves. Just then, Li Yue came to remind him, "Little brother, time to go. We still have serious business." While others were still drinking milk, he was already leading his clan to wealth, with remnants of Blue Star knowledge in his mind. The boy's inventions were wildly successful. All major clans could no longer sit still. They all rushed in to grab a slice of the pie. Li Zai simply waved his hand and said, "Profits will be split 90 to 10. This stirred quite a backlash, but he couldn't care less. My Li family lacks neither manpower nor money. Even if you all stomp your feet, it's useless. Only the highest bidder gets a deal. The rest, forget it." Seeing the boy so unyielding, a beauty calmly stepped out from the crowd. Gorgeous face, silky black hair like a waterfall. Her words showed strong confidence. "I lead the Sun family. I want exclusive rights to your digestion, ice making, and brewing tech. Price is negotiable. What do you want, young masterly?" Li Zai looked her straight in the eye and said slowly, "I want you." The moment he said that, Bai Wanyu spat out his tea in shock. Only Li Yue seemed delighted with this sister-in-law. Amid everyone's stunned looks, Zhang Sun Nanxiao agreed without hesitation. Such a bold attitude even left Li Zai momentarily overwhelmed. Play is play, jokes are jokes. The boy stood up and returned to the main topic. For this cooperation, the Li family will only give 30% of the profit. The scene went dead silent. Upon leaving, only Zhang Sun Nanxiao saw them off. Watching the two walk away, Bai Wanyu was about to follow, but got yanked back by Li Yue. "You blockhead, can't you read the room? Let them go alone." Up ahead, Zhang Sun Nanxiao looked at the boy beside her, eyes full of overflowing tenderness. "I heard all those Li family gadgets came from your hands. Is that true?" Seeing Li Zai still distant and indifferent, Zhang Sun Nanxiao moved even closer. "Honestly, that offer earlier is negotiable. You're 17, perfect age for marriage." With that determined attitude, she nearly gave Li Zai a headache. At that point, Zhang Sun Nanxiao said bluntly, "No one will accept. The Li family taking 70% of the profit, and with such basic knowledge, every clan's craftsman will figure it out in a few years." Li Zai smiled calmly. "Exactly, in a few years. But right now, I'm ahead. I'm off. See you next time, Sister Zhang Sun." Li Zai returned to the Righteous Bureau in high spirits. He hugged his brother and said he'd take Bai Wanyu somewhere nice. Li Yue smiled knowingly from the side. He immediately excused himself, saying he had something to do. Bai Wanyu, puzzled, soon realized the destination was the capital's largest brothel. Old Bai's expression changed slightly. "This won't do. I'm a Confucian disciple. How can I go to such a place of debauchery?" Li Zai asked immediately. "Does the Confucian code explicitly?" Seeing the other just kept shaking his head, Li Zai dragged Bai Wanyu along, straight toward the Shihua courtyard. Shihua courtyard was a famed red light district by the Perfume River. Nobles and officials frequented it in droves. Some spent fortunes just to win a smile from a beauty. As the two stepped inside, a heavily made-up madam approached them. Li Zai boldly pulled out a large silver ingot and placed it in her hand with a flash. "Get 2 elegant ladies. My brother doesn't go for ordinary rouge and powder." The madam didn't hesitate at all. She took the money and called for Xinghua and Lihua. As the courtesans swarmed over, Bai Wanyu was so nervous his face turned pale. "Ladies, please don't be like this. Physical contact violates Confucian propriety." Li Zai was enjoying himself greatly. The madam could also tell who the real spender was. She quickly smiled and flattered him. "Young master, would you like a girl to keep you company?" The boy took a sip of fine wine and asked about the courtesan Yu Qingxian. The madam's eyes lit up. Clearly a big client. She hurriedly explained that Miss Yu was getting ready and would soon perform. Just then, heavenly zither music began from the second floor. With a single note, the entire courtyard fell silent. Li Zai sneered slightly with mystery. "That's mediocre. Why play a peep piece on a guqin?" The music abruptly stopped, like a torn robe, so jarring. Guests looked at him with murderous intent. Isn't that Li Zai, disciple of Plum Blossom Fairy? Just a nouveau riche. No wonder he knows nothing of music. Just then, crisp footsteps echoed on the stairs. Famous courtesan Yu Qingxian appeared with a smile. "Young masterly, may I invite you upstairs?" As her voice fell, the chatter disappeared. Schwerer wore a shocked expression. Li Zai grinned and walked upstairs. But after only 3 steps, he paused and turned to look at everyone below. Bunch of hicks pretending to understand music. Just from that one comment, the young nobles below wanted to beat him up. Meanwhile, upstairs, they spoke of rain within return. "May I ask, young masterly, how did you know I was playing a peep piece instead of a guqin melody?" "Don't worry, I mean no harm. I just want to find the original player of that piece. Li Zai didn't come to see Yu Qingxian. To get away, he had to play the rich fool. I don't know music at all. But I know life. Shall we talk about that? Yu Qingxuan's face immediately darkened. Get your filthy hands off me. I'm not that kind of woman. Feeling his invasive gaze, Yu Qingxian became increasingly uncomfortable. She quickly used the late hour as an excuse to leave. Li Zai flatly refused. It hasn't even been 15 minutes. If I leave now, I'll lose face. Yu Qingxian looked at the shameless youth and angrily shouted, "See him out." Li Zai then slammed his teacup and made a scene, shouting that he had been harassed. The courtesan was dumbfounded. Never had she seen such shamelessness. After a moment of silence, she reluctantly sat back down with her zither. Li Zai's plans were ruined by this woman. Now he wasn't even sure he'd see his second brother. "Miss you. You've made me everyone's target. You should take responsibility." The courtesan suppressed her anger and reluctantly agreed to the boy's shameless request. He asked for 10,000 pearls worth of medicine. Yu Qingxuan's chest heaved in rage. Her last shred of reason snapped. "Young Master Li, we shall never meet again," she said, and turned away with her zither. Seeing Yu Qingxian leave, all the guests rushed forward, and this rare opportunity allowed Li Zai to take Lao Bai and leave. As soon as he stepped out, he ran into his second brother, Li Qingji. "Haha, a little mishap happened. I never expected the music score I wrote back then would end up in the hands of a courtesan." Li Qingji didn't mind the abrupt change of topic. "I've already arranged for someone to infiltrate the family, but his identity can't be secured. In a few days, it's the old master's 60th birthday. Yu Qingxian will perform there. You can ask her for help." This news hit like a bolt from the blue. That was the person he had just offended. The boy went to the brothel for fun, but regretted teasing the courtesan 3 seconds later, because his second brother said that courtesan was the only one who could infiltrate the family. Having offended such an important person, Li Zai's heart felt colder than a fish gutted at RT Mart for 10 years. The next day, he had to shamelessly visit to apologize. Truly, you reap what you sow. Watching Yu Qingxian jog in the morning, the boy trailed behind like a creepy stalker. Spotting the same woman, she quickly turned back, her eyes cold, with a hint of disdain, as if looking at an annoying fly. Li Zai hurried to catch up, explaining yesterday's events. He also mentioned the pipa tune was called Ambush from 10 Sides. Yu Qingxian frowned and stopped in her tracks. She asked, "What are the 12 tones? What are the 7 notes?" Seeing the boy scratch his head in confusion, her patience completely ran out. "Young Master Li, you're of noble status. I'm just a woman of the dust. Please leave. All people are equal. There's no high or low." Seeing the woman's expression soften, Li Zai pressed his advantage. "My background is modest. Nobility or lowliness lies in the heart." Yu Qingxuan's heart surged with emotion. She let go of yesterday's matter. The boy's face lit up with joy. He stepped forward and grabbed the woman's hand. A man tilted his head and said, "I am Prince Waduaduo. My father is the renowned king of Dongli. If you're scared, then get lost." Yu Qingxian, about to clear up the misunderstanding, saw Li Zai give a thumbs up. "Wow, kid, you've got some guts," he said, stepping closer. His knuckles cracked loudly. Waduaduo's body trembled. A deep fear rose in his heart. The next second, he was lifted by the collar. "Stop meddling in my business, or I'll throw you into the river." Waduaduo's voice shook as he screamed for help. This piqued Li Zai's interest. No one's around. Perfect for dumping a body. "Do you dare play hero again?" Seeing Waduaduo, the boy lost interest and tossed him aside. He turned back to the woman. "I have another piece, Guangling-san, for you. It's no less than that pipa score." A strange light flashed in Yu Qingxuan's eyes. She nodded subtly. They went together to a room to continue. Li Zai grandly presented the music score. After the woman read it, shock gradually spread across her beautiful face. Such a marvelous piece. How could I take it? Li Zai handed her the score, insisting, "We're friends. No need to fuss over this." Holding the score, she blushed shyly. She happily accepted her gift. A breeze lifted a strand of Yu Qingxuan's hair. Its faint fragrance wafted to Li Zai, refreshing his senses. What was an intimate moment was suddenly shattered by an urgent voice. "You rogue, come out here." The perfect mood was ruined. Li Zai, full of anger, stormed out. "What's that, kid? Didn't get enough of a beating? And you brought just this many people? Haven't you heard I beat Chenifei? She had more men than you." Waduaduo gritted his teeth in rage. A piercing voice came from afar. "Li Zai, we meet again." At that moment, Li Zai's face grew serious. His gaze didn't fall on Chenifei, but on the 2 men behind him. He sensed an unusual aura. Wu Duo. Those are the Xuanwu King's sleeve guards. They're incredibly powerful. Hearing this, Li Zai looked serious. These 2 must at least be close to unlocking the first divine hidden realm. They'll be tough to handle. Yu Qingxian ran ahead to cut off the advance. Sweat appeared on her brow. She wanted to help a little, but Li Zai pushed her back due to the danger. At Chenifei's command, 2 sleeve guards charged forward with fierce energy. Their powerful auras surged around them. Li Zai followed closely behind, but his impact was far less effective. For the first time, Li Zai truly felt the pressure of falling behind in cultivation. But at this point, he couldn't run, or else it would mean certain death. Just then, a powerful sword aura shot up from afar. An ancient sword flew through the sky. With a boom, the sword hit the ground. It sent the two sleeve guards flying. Everyone was stunned. Bai Wangyu slowly landed. Li Zai nearly burst into tears. You stole the show. What about me? Chun Yifei looked at the scene. Furious at the meddling senior disciple of the Confucian sect, he shouted angrily. Do you want to go against the Xuanwu king? Bai Wangyu's face turned cold. He pulled out the Tai sword and replied coldly. Oppose them? Is it that serious? That stance, that aura, that arrogant presence. It's just unfair how impressive he looks. Chun Yifei knew he couldn't win. He turned and fled in shame. Li Zai looked at the three retreating backs and couldn't help taunting. Come back here if you dare. Moments later, the two said goodbye to Miss Yu and walked down the road. Still fuming, Li Zai insisted on seeing the Confucian leader, no matter the news quickly reached the old master's ears. He's too impatient. It's not time yet. Send him the king of elixirs first. After the scholar left, Qin Iluo stepped outside. She had a question in mind. The Confucian leader sees through all things. Why does he treat Li Zai so differently? Kong Qiu arrived slowly, stroking his beard. The rumors are all true. Everything came from that boy's hand. You're his master, haven't you noticed? He's different from everyone else in this world. Qin Iluo was baffled. What do you mean by that? Kong Qiu looked to the sky and asked, what do you think lies beyond the heavens? She answered, the sky. But Kong Qiu's eyes held deeper meaning. I used to think the same, until I witnessed the birth of the Li family's third son. Then I saw the world beyond the heavens. Qin Iluo was shocked by the Confucian leader's words. Could it be? Li Zai isn't of this world. Back in the Li residence, Bai Wangyu delivered the Confucian leader's gift, a 1,000-year-old polygonum root, a treasure worth more than gold. That night, the young Li practiced hard. Sweat poured as his movements flowed. Just as he stopped, something stirred in his body. A strange heat surged through him. Boundless spiritual energy flowed in. His sea of spiritual essence expanded greatly. At that final moment, he suddenly opened his eyes. I did it. I've opened the first divine hidden. As he cheered in joy, an ancient military sword flew at him. He instinctively blocked it and survived 3 moves. Such talent is rare in this world. You're quite good, kid. My teaching wasn't in vain. From the tree, Jianqi sheathed his sword, a pleased look on his face, receiving rare praise. Li Zai felt elated. Old Zhang, teach me a few more moves today. Jianqi's expression turned odd, but he smiled and didn't refuse. With a wave of his sword and a few steps, his aura radiated with dominance. Master this move, and no one below the second mirror can beat you. Come give it a try. Li Zai's eyes were full of anticipation. Following the footprints, he took 2 steps, but his body suddenly lost control. He crashed straight into the courtyard's high wall. Jianqi saw the boy embedded in the wall and laughed so hard he couldn't close his mouth. Seeing this scene, Li Zai instantly realized it was intentional. Lao Zhang didn't deny it. He turned to head back inside for a drink. Just then, a young maid approached. Suppressing a laugh, she said, Young master, are you okay? There's a Miss Changsun outside looking for you. Li Zai coughed awkwardly twice. Hearing the second part, he showed surprise. Didn't he know the Li family's business was managed by Yue? The enemy clearly wants to undermine our resistance from within. Is he the type to be swayed by beauty? Li Zai fumed inwardly. Calling the maid to assist, he went to the front hall. Sister Nanxiao, what brings you here so late? The woman got straight to the point, asking how he'd considered her previous proposal. The boy said family matters weren't his to handle. She should talk to Yue instead. Changsun Nanxiao's eyes narrowed slightly. Then she flashed a radiant smile. Young Master Li, don't tease me. The real power here lies with you. Seeing Li Zai unmoved, the woman tried another angle. I hear you're close with the courtesan Yu Qingxian. Are you planning to marry her? At this moment, Changsun Nanxiao was still pressing her attack. If not marriage, then it's for your career. That courtesan has ties to the first prince. Are you? Li Zai's brow furrowed slightly. She's just a small-time merchant. She wouldn't be involved with a prince. The room's atmosphere grew tense. The woman added that her family produced an empress. If you seek a career, we can help greatly. Li Zai pondered for a moment. He stood, hands on hips. Compared to a career, I'd rather be a swordsman. Politics is too complicated for me. Changsun Nanxiao's expression flickered. The smile on her face faded. Defeated, she left for home. After their talk ended, Li Zai had barely stepped out of the room when he saw a massive fire burning outside the city. It lit half the capital as bright as day. Seeing this, a dangerous smirk curved his lips. Looks like Second Brother's plan has begun. The next day, Yu Qingxian was practicing music in her room. Li Zai slipped in to gather intel. But before they could talk much, a servant suddenly announced the first prince's arrival. The girl's face showed panic. She hurriedly told Li Zai to hide. Barely a second after closing the door, a man in a wheelchair appeared in the courtyard. "Is the task I gave you ready? I hear you've been close with that Li kid lately. If so, get along well. Make good use of this pawn." At these words, Yu Qingxuan's face darkened. The first prince noticed this, but he didn't call her out. Instead, he had his servant wheel him away. With the crisis averted, Li Zai poked his head out. Yu Qingxian tried to explain what happened, but the boy cut her off. "No need to say much. Everyone has secrets. You haven't pried into my affairs either. Today, I do have a favor. At the old master's 60th birthday, can you bring me along?" Seeing Yu Qingxuan's confused look, the boy shared his plan. "What? You want to steal something? Are you crazy?" Li Zai gestured for her to come closer. "This item is crucial, and there's no other way." Hearing this, they agreed without further words, vowing to keep each other's secrets. Li Zai returned to the Li residence. He heard some news. Medicine King Yin Xiaoyu had come to the capital with the great Medicine King. The boy was shocked. With a sly grin, he thought of sending Lao Bai to ambush the Medicine King. Seeing Bai Wanyu not responding, he shifted his target to Lao Bai. With a loud "get out," Li Zai was angrily kicked out. Ambushing the Medicine King? Why not just have me dig up his ancestor's grave? Seeing that old Zhang was unreliable, the young man had no choice but to go back and plead with old Bai. But upon learning that Yin Xiaoyu was formidable and possibly brought many experts with him, he didn't dare act rashly. But if he really wanted the Medicine King, he'd need a different approach. If his guess was right, that plant was meant for the imperial court. His Majesty would surely reward a meritorious official or a favored consort in the harem. So it'd be simpler to go that route. Li Zai was struck with inspiration. Seems like he'd have to sacrifice his looks. At the break of dawn, Li Zai eagerly dragged old Bai to the Zhangsun residence to pick up Zhangsun Nanxiao. After getting the lady onto the carriage, he didn't forget to call out, "Old Bai, let's go." Looking at the boy's smile, Zhangsun Nanxiao immediately asked what was going on today. Li Zai replied with a smile, "Outing." Zhangsun Nanxiao couldn't help but tease. "It's autumn now." Still, the boy remained calm. "Anywhere with Sister Nanxiao is always spring." Hearing those words, a faint smile appeared on her face. They soon arrived at their destination, a clear lake. With a small boat on the shore, Li Zai politely invited her on. But when the boatman said the fare plus fuel was 2 taels and 10 cents, he was stunned. "Is it that expensive in the capital? Forget it, I'll row myself." Under the old man's contemptuous gaze, Zai boarded the boat, picked up the pole, and got ready for a ride with his lady. But he was dreaming too big. He forgot he didn't know how to row. After some chaotic fumbling, the boat began rocking wildly. One second, he reassured Nanxiao it was nothing. The next, the boat flipped over. Both were thrown into the water. Though autumn waters weren't freezing, they were still bitterly cold. Zhangsun Nanxiao's dress soaked instantly, clinging to her figure and outlining every curve. That was quite the sight. Li Zai helped the beauty ashore, immediately taking old Bai's coat. Seeing her shivering, he stretched out his arms. "Sis, come into my arms, you'll feel warmer." First friends, then siblings, now calling her baby. All for the sake of the 1,000-year Medicine King. After arriving at Liyuan, he rushed into the room. After sending away all the onlookers, he sat by her bed with the medicine bowl. The young man was feeding her spoon by spoon, but Miss Nanxiao was still unconscious, causing the medicine to spill from her lips. Looking at the remaining soup, he sighed and braced himself. First he downed a third of it, then pressed his lips to hers. Though the medicine was unbearably bitter, to achieve his goal, he did it again. As he leaned in again, Zhangsun Nanxiao suddenly opened her eyes. Their eyes met, and time seemed to freeze. They were now barely an inch apart. Moments later, Nanxiao spoke, breaking the strange silence. The boy, startled with medicine still in his mouth, swallowed it with a gulp. The bitterness twisted his face. After calming down, Li Zai hurriedly explained, "I was just feeding you medicine, Sister Nanxiao." Seeing the silly boy, Zhangsun Nanxiao smiled brightly. "If you want to do something, don't sneak around. Sister can give it to you." Li Zai gasped in shock. That sentence definitely had hidden meaning. Seeing the boy had thoughts, but no guts, Zhangsun Nanxiao asked him to help her sit up, then blushingly asked, "Did you do anything while I was unconscious?" While Li Zai was awkwardly at a loss, a woman suddenly appeared to announce that people from the Changsun family had come to take the young lady back. A flash of joy passed through the woman's eyes. Before leaving, she reluctantly asked again, "Young Masterly, if you don't tell me why you saw, it'll be too late." Li Zai, not wanting to waste words, bluntly stated he was willing to cooperate with the Changsun family, but with one condition. He wanted half of the Changsun family's medicinal herb business, and 3,000-year-old medicine kings. Changsun Nanxiao was stunned, barely restraining herself from lashing out. "Do you think these are radishes?" Available in any quantity you want. Li Zai's expression changed faster than flipping a book, plopping onto the bed and lazily saying, "In that case, see yourself out." Changsun Nanxiao gritted her teeth in anger. But since the Changsun family wanted to do business with the Li family, she couldn't do anything to him. Everything is negotiable. The Changsun family can give 10% of our business to the Li family, but we truly don't have any medicine kings. Li Zai was unrelenting, saying, then too. After a fierce war of words, they agreed on 20% of the business and one medicine king. Once the deal was struck, the young man jumped. Changsun Nanxiao was speechless. This man is too real. On the carriage, Changsun Fengyu, hearing they had to give a medicine king to the Li family, was so anxious she nearly choked. The Changsun family didn't even have such a thing. At that moment, a glint flashed in Changsun Nanxiao's eyes. Yin Xiaoyu, my friend, isn't he coming to the capital? We may not be able to get it, but your Empress aunt can. Changsun Fengyu gave a thumbs up, praising her aunt's cleverness. Nanxiao's expression hardened. The clever one isn't me, but Li Zai. He foresaw this and approached me for cooperation. You should learn from his cunning. Meanwhile, in the courtyard, Li Zai was shamelessly pestering Bai Wanyu, begging him to teach a few moves. Annoyed, Bai Wanyu had no choice but to help study the footwork of the flying immortal technique. At that moment, the inexperienced young man misstepped, and predictably, he flew out again, landing squarely on an apricot tree in the courtyard. The apricot tree shook, leaves falling in a rustling cascade. Looking at the clumsy fool, Bai Wanyu wished he'd just get stuck there. But then, a cracking sound came from the branch. The branch snapped, and Li Zai fell, hitting the ground like a sack, face first. Bai Wanyu struggled to suppress his laughter, shouting, "Practice on your own first." Then he hurriedly ran off. His booming laughter was clearly heard by Li Zai, who lay on the ground with a nosebleed. It was hard to believe it wasn't intentional. Fleeing, Bai Wanyu ran into a citizen, who said a Confucian scholar from the Imperial Academy was looking for him. At the Li residence, a young man in Confucian robes was waiting. Seeing the senior brother emerge, he looked respectful. By order of the Confucian master, "Senior brother, please return." Bai Wanyu's expression grew serious, not daring to delay. He returned to the Imperial Academy at top speed. Sensing his disciple's arrival, the Confucian master asked without turning, "How are you getting along with the Li family's third young master?" Bai Wanyu praised Li Zai endlessly, saying his talents in all areas were exceptional. This response was expected, casually shifting topics. "Yin Xiaoyu from the Heavenly Jade Hall is coming to the capital. How long do you think it'll take for Li Zai's talents to catch up to him?" Bai Wanyu hesitated for a moment, then truthfully replied, "He can't." The Confucian master wasn't surprised. He only instructed his senior disciple to assist closely. Bai Wanyu didn't immediately agree, which slightly displeased the old man. Respecting your master is good, but no one's decisions are always correct. You must learn to question. From start to now, haven't you ever thought of stepping into the courtyard as the Confucian master, or defying me? Outside the courtyard, Bai Wanyu stood there, just as he was about to step forward. His face showed guilt. This disciple has disappointed the Confucian master. Seeing this, the Confucian master sighed. Binding you with etiquette was my mistake. Remember, nothing in this world is always right for you. Li Zai and Yin Xiaoyu are bound to clash. You must stay by that boy's side and shield him from trouble. After giving instructions, the Confucian master said no more and waved his hand. As night fell in the courtyard, the moon rose. After waiting a long time, Li Zai finally saw Bai Wanyu's figure. Hearing he'd been to the Confucian master, he relaxed. Otherwise, I'd have thought someone kidnapped you. Seeing Bai Wanyu return safely, the young man turned to leave, wanting to rest in his room. At that moment, Bai Wanyu suddenly asked, "Have you ever doubted that the path your master taught or arranged for you was wrong?" Li Zai shook his head vigorously. "My fairy-like master is so honorable. How could I doubt him?" Bai Wanyu's expression darkened. He pressed again. Only then did the young man sheepishly admit the truth. "I doubted, but only doubted. I cursed his relatives a few times, and he beat me for it. Enough, I'm off to practice." Bai Wanyu watched Li Zai's retreating figure, a faint glint in his eyes. Now he seemed to understand why the Confucian master wanted him to stay by Li Zai's side. Training for less than 3 days, he could take down a gang of bandits. This was a martial genius blessed by the heavens. But beneath this dazzling exterior, he knew best. He was just a mortal, with all 8 meridians blocked. To unblock his meridians and continue training, he needed a 1,000-year-old medicine king. Now that the divine son Yin Xiaoyu was coming to the capital, bringing a medicine king as a gift, this was his best chance to obtain it. At the West City Gate, hooves thundered. The temple entourage, after days of travel, finally arrived. A handsome young man in a moon-white robe, seemingly a newcomer, sat on the carriage. Li Zai stared blankly at Yin Xiaoyu, as if seeing a walking medicine king. This peculiar gaze made the divine son uncomfortable, wondering if the man had a screw loose. Beside the carriage was an old man in red, exuding an imposing aura that felt oppressive. Li Zai, intrigued, stretched out his hand and asked who the old man was. Bai Wangyu, knowing the elder's sharp hearing, tried to stop him, but it was too late. A surge of force erupted, and Bai Wangyu lunged forward to block it. But in the next second, his body trembled, stepping back half a pace. At the corner of his mouth, a trace of blood silently slid down. Li Zai rushed forward, furious. When he saw Bai Wangyu bleeding, his eyes blazing with rage. How dare they act so arrogantly in the capital? This heavenly jade hall is utterly lawless. Bai Wangyu, enduring the pain, held Li Zai back. They're guests from afar. We mustn't be rude. Li Zai frowned, retracting his gaze, but firmly vowed to avenge Bai Wangyu. Seeing the young man's serious expression, Bai Wangyu gave a gentle smile. A breeze passed, and both looked away, shattering the briefly solemn atmosphere. What's with this sappy scene? At that moment, an aged voice rang out, like thunder, shocking everyone present. Wangyu. Etiquette is for the civilized. If others lack manners, why bother with etiquette? At that moment, everyone's faces changed. A surge of righteous energy swept through the heavens, an invisible force exploding forth, striking directly at Lu Rongyu in the entourage. With a spurt of blood, he staggered like a broken kite. Didn't expect an old man like you to bully two youngsters. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the old man's voice echoed, resounding through the heavens. Li Zai, unable to resist, seized the chance to ask, "Where's my master Qin?" Seeing the elder silent for so long, the young man cursed angrily. If Bai Wangyu hadn't held him back, he would have flipped the sky upside down. A frown formed on Che Lian's face, with a bit of doubt in his tone. Who exactly is this guy, to dare speak to Rusho like that? From the crowd, Li Zai could feel everyone's eyes on him, but he didn't care one bit. His gaze fixed toward Taishua Palace, awaiting Rusho's response. Just as he was about to blow his top, the Qingxuang sword tore through the air, releasing a dazzling and powerful sword aura. Li Zai finally relaxed. His master was sending word he was safe. At this moment, Yin Xiaoyu looked stunned, realizing the person before her was actually the disciple of the Plum Blossom Fairy. The caged woman beside her also realized this person must be eliminated, or he'd be a future disaster. A dangerous glint flashed through Yin Xiaoyu's eyes. Those who break the rules shouldn't be allowed to live. On the other side, Bai Wangyu dragged brotherly away in a panic. My heart almost leapt out of my chest. I thought Rusho would smack you to death out of anger. Li Zai wasn't fazed at all. Rusho's your teacher, and you're his top disciple. What are you scared of? Bai Wangyu almost choked on his breath. He truly feared this guy might kill him from anger one day. Li Zai sighed speechlessly. Lao Bai, I despise you. But he instantly regretted saying it. Bai Wangyu went on strike, refusing to teach him the Feishin technique any further. That wouldn't do. Big bro, how would I become a sword immortal without you? After much begging and pleading, Lao Bai finally gave in. The courtyard was now lined with red threads, clearly prepared for the Feishin technique's third level. If the bell rang once, it meant the movement was correct. Li Zai was deeply moved after hearing the explanation. A shadow darted out, touching the first bell. Suddenly, he slipped, and was about to collapse entirely. But at that moment, Lao Bai's encouragement rang out. He used the red threads to find his bearings again. In the crisscrossing threads, he turned midair upon hearing the cue. His body reversed course, using the thread to return to the correct path. His form flickered out again, faster and faster each time. He flew out more and more frequently. After countless tries, the young man finally stepped out the full 27 steps. He collapsed onto the ground, exhausted. Lao Bai, you're a genius. I'm so moved by you. Bai Wangyu modestly said his brother was even better. Didn't expect that brat to actually pull it off. He kind of wanted to stomp on his face. Li Zai pulled out a few hundred-year-old bone herbs and chewed them like radishes. Then he shot up like he was on steroids. I've rested. Let's go again. With a stomp of his foot, he dashed out once more, but he moved too fast and stumbled, slamming head first into the courtyard wall. He dropped like a paper doll, flat on the ground. But Bai Wangyu wasn't letting him off that easy. He grabbed brother Li's leg tight and dragged him right back to training. The sun set in the west, the stars sparse in the moonlight. By now, Li Zai lay completely defeated. He lay on the stone steps, staring at the sky full of stars. His progress was still slow, but at least now he saw hope. Thanks to all the big shots who helped him, he might finally stop being a good-for-nothing. As these thoughts wandered, Li Zai dozed off in exhaustion, a small, satisfied smile on his face. At dawn, a silver glimmer crept into the sky. Li Zai slowly opened his eyes atop the steps. The morning sun began to rise. It was the perfect moment to cultivate Feishin's inner method. With that in mind, he sat cross-legged and activated his technique, absorbing spiritual energy. In an instant, endless spirit energy surged toward him. A beam of golden light suddenly burst forth, The young man was filled with power. As a flash of sharp light passed, Li Zai had entered the second realm. The suggestion of this spiritual power even made by Wang Yu feel some fear. The boy was so happy he felt like flying. He insisted on sparring with old Bai. To see the fruits of his effort, Li Zai drew his pure army sword with a grin. His movements were like those of an immortal. His swift footwork resembled that of a flying celestial. In the blink of an eye, the sword tip reached by Wang Yu. After 2 exchanges, Li Zai's sword style changed again. His moves became even faster. Under the morning sun, the 2 swords clashed repeatedly. Sparks flew, showing an even match. After a while, Bai Wang Yu ended it with a point tap. He considered the sparring over. No need to continue. Brotherly only learned 3 moves, yet can withstand 10 of mine. Truly impressive. Just then, a maid arrived. To inform Li Zai that time was up, the well-mannered boy stood up immediately and rushed into Sister Hongzhu's room. After some inexplicable operations, the task was complete. His meridians were blocked, yet he wanted to train, to fulfill a childhood dream. The delinquent youth disguised himself as a gigolo, just to sneak into the camp and find a meridian-clearing manual. When he stepped out of the carriage to greet his female companion, the woman didn't even recognize him. "Fairy, it's me, Ernyo." Hearing that, Yu Qingxian became emotional. "This Sister Hongzhu is incredible. You didn't just put on makeup, you changed your face." With that, she handed the ancient zither to Li Zai and took him into the dressing room with her. The guests attending the birthday celebration were all prominent figures of the capital. When they saw Fairy Qingxian arrive, they all rushed forward to greet her. Yu Qingxian responded perfunctorily, then quietly took her seat and played the zither. The elegant melody rang out, pure and clear like her demeanor. The guests were all entranced by the music, but Li Zai wasn't immersed in the performance. He was quietly waiting for movement. Just then, a maid suddenly shouted, "The backyard is on fire." Upon hearing this, everyone scattered in panic, completely disoriented, except for the 3rd young master of the Li family, who was strolling through the garden calmly. After receiving intel from his second brother, he turned and entered the secret passage. But after only a few steps, Yin Kuang suddenly tensed up. "Young master, stay close. Don't take a wrong step, or you won't even leave a corpse behind." With that, he cautiously moved forward. But behind him, Li Zai looked serious, his feet unmoved. He sensed this journey wouldn't be easy. Sure enough, just half a step ahead, a stone slab sank beneath Yin Kuang's foot. Blades shot out from both walls. The boy shouted for him to retreat immediately. Yin Kuang was shocked and stomped his foot. Only then did he narrowly escape death. He didn't know how this happened, but Li Zai knew all too well. "You stole the Yin family's red fire iron rod before. Of course they'd be on guard. You stay here. I'll go in." With that, Li Zai dashed forward. At the same time, the entire passage seemed activated. Countless swords shot from the walls like rain. Fortunately, his days of training had honed his evasion skills. He made it through unharmed. Standing before a massive stone door, Li Zai walked forward hesitantly. He gently knocked the stone ring on the door. The next moment, the huge stone door opened automatically. Li Zai stepped inside. It was pitch black and eerie inside. He called for Yin Kuang to toss in a torch. Only then could he see more clearly. At that moment, a shadow leapt out from the stone chamber. Startled, the boy stepped back, dodging the shadow's pounce. What appeared was a figure with messy hair, its face obscured and unknown. It looked like some kind of dancer. Before he could react in time, the beast roared and lunged again. With no way to dodge, Li Zai swung his sword, directly blocking the attacker's overpowering assault. The young man intended to land a fatal blow, but never expected the beast's reaction and speed to be unnaturally fast. Even a massive stone pillar nearby could be easily shattered by it. Since he couldn't win, better to find the item and escape. With this thought, Li Zai frantically searched for the item. However, the beast didn't stop its attack, instead launching another fierce strike. This startled Li Zai, who drew his sword to counter. As flesh met sword, the sword was knocked back. If he couldn't kill it, he'd fight to the death. With strike after strike from his weapon, a delicate green box suddenly fell out. This was the box containing that book. Truly, when you plant flowers, they don't bloom, but when you plant willows, they shade. Seeing the box's movement, the beast's killing intent grew stronger. Finally, disregarding its own life, leaped again. By now, Li Zai had lost his patience. With a cold snort, he swung his blade, then quickly dashed outside, closing the door as fast as he could. Meanwhile, at the fire's location, Lu Rongyu was urging the divine sun not to meddle. Looking at the distant blaze, Yan Xiaoyu felt something was amiss. God says, all beings suffer. God says, let there be sweet rain. After the incantation, a beam of light shot skyward. Instantly, dark clouds gathered, and a bolt of lightning struck. Torrential rain poured down. All the citizens and soldiers were stunned, thanking the divine sun for his aid. Li Zai appeared at this moment, walking past the divine sun and out the gate. Under the admiring gazes of the crowd, Yan Xiaoyu's brows suddenly furrowed. As the young man passed by, he felt a familiar sense of dissonance. Seeing the departing carriage, the divine son quickly bid farewell to the mansion's people and chased after it with Lu Rongyu. In the carriage, Li Zai took out the tattered scroll, grinning so wide he couldn't close his mouth. Hongzhu teased her to wipe the drool from her mouth. The next second, she felt a slight itch. Someone's following us. To trail us this long without me noticing. Their cultivation must surpass mine. She ordered the driver to speed up. Unexpectedly, at that moment, a dozen ironclad riders charged from ahead, startling the horses. The two in the carriage sensed something was wrong. In the critical moment, Li Zai grabbed Xiaoxi and jumped out. Upon landing, he saw Yan Xiaoyu standing before him. Just what he feared most. Pretending not to see him was too late now. Hongzhu noticed something off, quickly asking if the young master was startled. Expected, Hongzhu asked if he was startled. After some exaggerated theatrics, he naturally turned to leave. But the divine son was relentless, immediately stepping in front of them, persistently asking for their names. Li Zai tried to brush him off with a few words, but the man wouldn't let it go, even showing killing intent. Without listening, he struck with a palm. At the critical moment, a sword aura shot skyward, righteous energy surging majestically. Yan Xiaoyu was startled, stepping back half a pace. The newcomer was none other than senior brother Bai Wangyu. Seeing him, Li Zai was moved to tears. They started with polite greetings, but the tension grew thicker. It ended in a full-on fight. Their sword hilts clashed, their skills evenly matched. Yan Xiaoyu gripped his sword, ready to strike, but the other snorted coldly, then struck with a palm. The divine son was knocked back 3 meters. Bai Wangyu eyed his opponent, his gaze darkening. I'm the Confucian school's senior brother. I don't just use a sword. Today was the day Heavenly Jade Hall would meet the emperor. Yan Xiaoyu brought 3 treasures: the fire and waterproof water-fire pearl, the impervious bright light armor, and the life-saving snow lotus heart. The emperor smiled, very pleased, but the divine son suddenly bowed, requesting a reward of a medicine king for the capital's 9th princess. Since ancient times, Heavenly Jade Hall and the imperial family have been at odds. Now, sending the divine son from afar with gifts. Discerning eyes saw her true intent wasn't the gifts. On the surface, these were congratulatory gifts, but secretly, they were a ploy to take the 9th princess, who controls a military stronghold. Yan Xiaoyu knew the emperor wouldn't agree, so he posed 3 challenges. If someone could answer, the treasures would be compensation. If not, they'd be a betrothal gift. The capital claims to be full of talent. Surely someone would dare to compete? These words left the ministers visibly shaken, angrily scolding the divine son for his insolence. The emperor, unable to watch, tried to intervene, sternly asking what the challenges were. In the center of the hall, Yan Xiaoyu smiled. He feared the capital's rulers would be too timid to accept. He then revealed his challenges. First, thread a pearl with a hole without using hands. Second, with 50 mares and foals, how to identify each mother-foal pair. Third, how to use water to create fire. Such tricky questions made even the emperor's expression change. Meanwhile, in the courtyard, old Li and old Bai were awaiting news. A servant rushed in, excitedly recounting what happened in the hall. Li Zai didn't care at all, but Bai Wangyu caught the key issue. Has anyone answered the questions? The servant shook his head, saying no one had. This left the medicine king-chewing young man speechless, muttering that they were all fools. Bai Wangyu's gaze immediately shifted to him, asking if Li Zai knew the answers. Seeing the young man's nonchalant attitude, he jumped up in frustration. You must know the answers, right? This isn't a small matter. The princess is the lord of Fengyang City. She can't marry far away. Old Bai spoke until his mouth was dry, but Li Zai still looked utterly indifferent. Looks like they'd need a plan. At the Imperial Academy, disciples sat in discussion, but thinking of those inhumane questions, they slammed tables in anger. Damn Heavenly Jade Hall, deliberately humiliating us. One stormed off in a huff. Learning of this, the Confucian master's face grew cold, immediately ordering someone to fetch Bai Wangyu. Hearing this, old Bai laughed wryly. His mind was like a block of wood. How could he answer those questions? But he knew someone who might. The Li family's 3rd young master. The Confucian master was thrilled, eager to meet the boy immediately. I've tried persuading Brother Li, but he won't get involved. This likely has nothing to do with the Li family, and he doesn't want to stir trouble. This made the Confucian master stomp in frustration. From afar came the Confucian master's voice. Tell that kid to forge a sword with red fire iron gold. The water fire pearl from Heavenly Jade Hall is essential. Soon, Bai Wangyu relayed this message. Li Zai flipped through a book to confirm, and immediately changed his tune. This is blatant coercion. Bai Wangyu gave a faint smile, saying nothing. Looks like it's time for Li Zai to steal the spotlight. Just then, a servant reported. The 4th prince and 9th princess are visiting. Bai Wangyu didn't need to guess. It was surely about Heavenly Jade Hall. In the main hall, The siblings didn't state their intentions. Instead, the fourth prince first invited Old Bai to spar with swords. Before leaving, the ninth princess gave him a look, reminding him not to forget their true purpose today. The two left in the hall, stood awkwardly, unsure what to do. Young Masterly, my brother and I came today to ask about one matter. Li Zai was secretly delighted but feigned calm. Looks like his moment to shine had finally arrived. But in the next second, the person the ninth princess asked about was Bai Wanyu. This instantly soured the boy's mood. He bluntly said that guy didn't even know the answer. Meanwhile, in the Li family's courtyard, the two sword enthusiasts were deeply engrossed. If Bai Wanyu hadn't stopped at the right time, the fourth prince might have sparred with him until sunset. Just then, the ninth princess stepped out, saying it was late and time to leave. As the fourth prince boarded the carriage to rest, he suddenly jolted upright. Oh no, I forgot to ask brother Bai the question. Though the ninth princess was annoyed, she had expected it. Just as her brother prepared to return, she crossed her arms and no need. I already asked him. Seems we owe the Li family a favor now. Soon, the appointed time arrived. Yan Xiaoyu once again arrived at the palace. After bowing, he asked the court, does anyone know the answers to the 3 riddles? The emperor kept a stern face and said, wait. One last incense sticks time. The divine envoy was determined to win. He sneered, wondering how long the emperor would stall. Just then, a eunuch brought out an extremely long incense stick, one that would take half an hour to burn. Very soon, that incense was almost spent. Just as Yin Xiaoyu prepared to claim his prize, the guards announced loudly, Bai Wanyu and Li family's third son request an audience. The merchant emperor's eyes lit up with delight. He immediately raised his hand, inviting them in. As the two entered the hall, Yin Xiaoyu quickly asked his old acquaintance Bai Wanyu, did you solve the riddle? But old Bai stayed quiet. Li Zai stepped forward. This one's too easy, he's not needed. Even a commoner like me could answer it. The ministers all nodded in approval. This boy's not bad, sharp tongue. Finally gave us a bit of justice. But the divine envoy's face turned ugly. He looked like he wanted to swallow Li Zai alive. Li Zai glanced across the hall, cleared his throat, and stood tall. He asked the emperor for assistance with a demonstration. Upon receiving approval, he pulled out a southern pearl from his robe. He placed it on the ground with a golden thread. Under everyone's tense gaze, the thread, initially unmoving, suddenly coiled. Several sharp-eyed officials shouted with excitement. It moved. It really moved. The golden thread, like it had legs, began to crawl into the small holes. Upon seeing this, the divine envoy looked like he swallowed a fly. Elder Lu Xiqing looked curious, asking the youth how he did it. After Bai Wanyu vouched for his character, Li Zai took him aside. Sir, take a whiff. What do you smell? Lu Xiqing leaned in and sniffed. A sharp scent hit his nose. At that moment, on the golden thread, sat a tiny ant. Upon learning the trick, Lu Xiqing beamed with pride. For the court to have such a youth, what a blessing. Yin Xiaoyu scoffed, claiming it was mere coincidence. He then asked how the next question would be solved. Li Zai's expression shifted. His tone turned icy. That one's even easier. If this weren't the imperial palace, I'd go to a brothel and get an answer from any courtesan. He then made a bet with the emperor. If no one could answer, the ninth princess would marry him, with the emperor's approval. The question was, 2 + 2 = squeezing into the snowy lands of South Island. But Li Zai scoffed and said, a question this simple, any brothel girl could answer it. A clear slap in Yin Xiaoyu's face. Just as she was about to explode, Lady Lu stepped in to stop her, telling her to wait and watch. Li Zai led everyone to the Xuanwu gate, then ordered all the horses to be released. With a sharp crack, all the horses ran wild. No one knew how much time passed, but the ministers all wore stunned expressions. 50 mares had all found their own foals. The ministers began to nod in realization. They were starting to understand. The foals had been starving all day, and once released, he would eagerly seek out a mare. So naturally, he could tell the difference. Amid everyone's admiration, Li Zai looked at the divine child and asked if a check was needed. Yin Xiaoyu said nothing after eating. Next came the third riddle. Li Zai stepped forward to the emperor and requested a foot-long slab of ice. Not far away, Yin Xiaoyu's expression changed as soon as she heard his request. Before long, 2 eunuchs carried over a box of ice. The dirty and tiring work was handed over to Bai Wanyu. Old Bai silently approached the ice. Using 2 fingers with arcane skill, he turned qi into a sword, shaving the ice slice by slice. During a moment of rest, Li Zai glanced toward Xuanwu Gate, at a figure in a bamboo hat. A glimmer flashed in his eyes. Is that you? You saw I didn't embarrass myself, right? By then, Bai Wanyu had completed the task. Taking the ice mirror, the confident youth gathered sunlight into a single point and focused it onto cotton. Very soon, it sparked a decent flame. In an instant, the ministers were overjoyed. But in the distance, the 2 from Tianyu Hall looked grim. After receiving a signal from the divine child, a gleam flashed in Lu Rongnu's aged eyes. She flipped her hands and looked to the sky, radiating blinding white light. She performed a Tianyu divine spell. In an instant, lightning and thunder filled the sky. Li Zai's heart-earned flame was extinguished at once. Damn it, are you seriously this petty? That's just despicable. Yin Xiaoyu remained expressionless under the scolding. Tianyu Hall never said we'd help solve the riddle. Meanwhile, two onlookers in the distance began whispering to each other, with a scolding remark. Your disciple, your problem. Qin Enuo obediently stepped forward. At that moment, Tianyu Hall's Shunzi Qiyin was beyond arrogant, still proudly asking, is there any other way to solve this? Just then, with the emperor's permission, Qin Enuo picked up the imperial sword and walked to Xuanwu Gate. With a single slash, she parted the clouds and brought sunlight back. But the caster suffered backlash from the divine spell. Seriously injured, she could no longer cast it again. After resolving the problem, the fairy returned the sword. That made both master and disciple shine in the spotlight. After days apart, Li Zai was overwhelmed with emotion. Waving his hand, he loudly expressed his longing. Qin Enuo's warm smile was comforting, but her words were frightening. Focus on your task, or I'll deal with you when we return. The boy laughed and agreed. Beside him, Lu Siqin was still thinking about the riddle. Young Li, the soldier is drawn. Now what? The boy smiled and said it was no big deal. After all, he had a second solution. He just needed to invite a young lady into the hall. With the emperor's approval, Hongzhu carried in a bucket and a copper furnace mirror. Before everyone's eyes, Li Zai scooped up a basin of water and poured it directly into the copper furnace. But after a long wait, nothing happened. The court officials grew nervous. Realizing the boy had something up his sleeve, the uneasy divine child began to mock him. What a joke. Can't even admit defeat. The moment silver ash fell, flames roared to life. Even with heat waves rolling in, the officials stepped forward. There's fire. There's fire. Li Zai beamed brightly and turned to ask, would you call this fire? Seeing Lu Siqin approach, Li Zai already knew what he was going to say. Actually, inside the copper furnace, I placed something called quicklime. There's raw and slaked lime. Raw lime ignites just with dry grass. To make sure the divine child could see clearly, I also added a bit of black powder. My answer is complete. I'll go ahead and accept the gift from Tianyu Hall. Lu Siqin quickly reminded him to mind his manners. Li Zai laughed and replied with self-deprecation. Sir, you're right. I'm just a rough village lad, so I can only answer such crude questions. In Tianyu Hall, two men are consumed by rage. Yin Xiaoyu looks ready to strike. At that moment, the emperor notices the scene. He prepares to break the scholar's arm if needed, but the man suddenly deflates. Your Majesty, we take our leave from Tianyu Hall. Watching the two depart, Li Zai finally breathes a sigh of relief. The emperor, in a good mood, immediately asks what the Shangyan desires. Your Majesty, I want the water-fire pearl. This request stuns the Shang emperor. No one has ever spoken to him so directly. Recovering from his surprise, he asks why it must be the water-fire pearl. That thing is very expensive. The Li family deals in trade. Of course, we pick the priciest. Hearing such a crude explanation, the Shang emperor is quite pleased. He grants the request outright. Additionally, for his service to the state, the Li kid is granted a title. The title sounds grand and mighty, but Bai Wangyu reveals the Grand Academy is full of such titles. Li Zai instantly deflates again. With the water-fire pearl, he can forge a sword. A good sword can greatly enhance cultivation, but for a qualitative leap, the sword's quality must rival that of the master of Tianyu Hall. The master's sword, called the Tianyu Divine Sword or Bright Divine Sword, has only 4 or 5 equals. 3 are in the hands of the Confucian school. The last one's whereabouts are unknown. Meanwhile, in a nearby street, a woman covered in wounds is being chased and cursed as a demoness by a mob. They shout for her death. Fortunately, a passing monk intervenes, stopping the mob. At that moment, a group claiming to be from the princess's mansion arrives to take the green-clothed woman home. The little monk, uneasy, follows them. The lead guard considers that the princess stops him. He reluctantly complies. The princess's scarred hand slowly releases. She timidly follows the group forward. At some point, a purple light appears, and her scar mysteriously vanishes. Demons run rampant, devouring humans on sight, thought to be tales to scare children. One night, Li Zai encounters one face-to-face. In the black mist, a pair of blood-red eyes exudes oppression in a mere second. As Li Zai faces peril, a sword chi pierces the heavens. The usually calm senior brother of the Confucian school reveals a trace of killing intent. He coldly orders the two to step back. A dazzling white light surges around him. Sword chi slices through the darkness, a single strike silencing the demon. The black mist cries out, Confucian disciple, and engages the ancient sword. Two opposing forces erode each other, hissings echoing endlessly. Bai Wangyu sheathes his sword, forced back several steps. With a cold snort, He points with his left hand. Righteous chi surges, his sword fingers striking out. Chi like hundreds of streams overwhelms the demon. The black mist gathers boundless, chilling energy in its palms, desperately blocking the attack. Seconds later, blood spurts like a fountain. After gravely wounding the demon with one move, Bai Wangyu doesn't pause. He steps forward, rushing to the demon's side. With a shout, "Earth as a prison," he locks the black mist tightly. Outside the battle, Li Zai watches, his expression utterly shocked. The Confucian school senior brother is truly terrifying. But at that moment, a heaven-shaking palm strike arrives, shattering the prison with a single blow. Looking at the stunned Bai Wangyu, the surging black mist speaks. "Human, leave your name." Bai Wangyu coldly replies, "Confucian school, Bai Wangyu." Receiving the answer, the black mist begins to dissipate. It leaves behind a piercing laugh. "Stay alive. Next time, your flesh and blood are ours." The two behind hurry forward. Looking at the air behind him, Bai Wangyu instructs him not to speak of this, lest it cause panic among the people. After a brief exchange and farewell, Li Zai's gaze quietly darkens. He sinks into deep thought. "This world, I don't like it, nor do I understand it. I used to want to change it, but found myself powerless." Bai Wangyu was about to offer comfort, when a bell tolled from afar. The bell rings, the heavenly book opens. Likely, the Confucian master sensed a demon's presence. The heavenly book is a trial. If one gets a chance to inscribe their name on it, they might ascend to the fifth realm in one step. For example, the last person to inscribe their name is now the master of heavenly prison. Li Zai was initially thrilled, but realizing his weakness made it impossible, especially with the divine sun still in the city. His chances of success were slim. At the Southwest Prince's mansion on the southwest border of the Great Shang, in a quiet pavilion by the water, Sanzang sat cross-legged, quietly cultivating. Then, a crisp voice came from behind. "Monk, aren't you bored sitting there all day?" Sanzang looked up and saw it was Princess Qingqing, a faint smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. "Cultivation is about the heart. With Buddha in your heart, it's never boring." The girl blinked, not grasping the meaning. She picked up a pastry, asking if the monk wanted one. After being refused, she sat by the pond to play with the water. "It's so dull here. Let's go out and have fun." Unexpectedly, Sanzang was about to leave and refused again. Qingqing grew anxious, putting down the pastry tray and grabbing his arm. "No, I won't let you go. If you must leave, I'll go with you." Seeing the young monk firmly refuse, Qingqing huffily threatened to dance. Sanzang's expression grew increasingly helpless, patiently reasoning with her. This monk must subdue a demon nearby, or the villagers' lives are at risk. There's no demon in that village, just a man-eating beast, and it's already dead. Realizing she'd slipped, Qingqing quickly changed the subject. Sanzang was about to say more, when a servant hurried forward. "Princess, the madam requests you enter the palace for a marriage with the great prince." At these words, Qingqing's face turned serious, insisting she'd argue with her mother. But before she could take a step, the old madam approached. Seeing her daughter's reluctance, she had to reveal the truth. "This is the emperor's decree. We cannot refuse. We must prioritize the greater good." The princess consort kept rambling, unaware of the unsettling green glint in her daughter's eyes. Meanwhile, outside the mansion, a monk's face grew solemn. He respectfully said to two guards, "Amitba, this monk knows Princess Qingqing's whereabouts. May I see the princess consort?" The two soldiers burst into laughter. "If you're after a reward, get your facts straight first. The princess has already returned home." The monk's expression froze, wanting to ask more, but the guards impatiently drove him away. "Get lost. Since you're a monk, I'll let you off. Don't do it again." The monk's expression grew graver. Princess Qingqing is clearly dead, so why would the guards say she's home? Could this be the cause of the demonic aura? Meanwhile, the princess huffily sought out the young monk, plopping down in front of him, pouring out her heart's grievances. Sanzang was puzzled. Secular marriages are arranged by parents and matchmakers. The princess consort's arrangement must have been carefully considered. "Why are you so upset?" The princess didn't care for his earnest advice. After a passionate confession, she grabbed the young monk, wanting to elope. This startled Sanzang greatly. Transgression, transgression. "Princess, don't say such things. This monk is ordained." Qingqing didn't understand. Can't monks have someone they like? Sanzang firmly shook his head, indicating no. Seeing the young monk heading out, the princess cried, threw a tantrum, and threatened to hang herself. She even declared fiercely, "If you leave, I'll jump from here." Sanzang paused, his fair face showing hesitation. After a moment, he gritted his teeth and continued walking forward. Seeing the young monk so resolute, the princess was stunned. Qingqing leaped into the water. The sound of splashing echoed in the air. A look of urgency appeared on Sanzang's face. He quickly walked toward the pavilion. Without any hesitation, he jumped right in. Soon, he resurfaced holding the young lady. He worked hard to drag the princess back onto the pavilion. After waking up, Qingqing tightly embraced Sanzang, pouring out her heartfelt love. Not far away, the princess consort approached in haste. Seeing the scene in the water, her brow furrowed. Guards, send the princess to her father tomorrow. 2 guards stepped forward and restrained the princess. Qingqing became furious, a green light flashing in her eyes. Just as she was about to resist, her body froze. She saw the little monk not far away. Suddenly, her body relaxed, no longer resisting. Little monk, I'd rather die than marry that crown prince. The heavenly book opens. 10,000 names enter. If a name is written now, even a useless one like Yizong can become the great king of Wuzong. With a determined mindset, the two arrived at the Burning Heart Pagoda. After 3 bells tolled, Bai Wangyu advised, once you're inside, you must keep your heart steady. If you lose your mind, you'll be ejected from the tower. If you get knocked unconscious, you'll lose your qualification as well. Just then, Yin Xiaoyu walked over. Li Zai couldn't help but complain. That fish really loves the spot. Suddenly, the boy thought of something important. Will anyone from Tianyu Hall's 3rd level or above come? Old Bai shook his head. Instantly filled with confidence, Li Zai ran toward the Grand Academy. At the tower entrance, many academy students saw Bai Wangyu arrive. They quickly cleared a path and made way. Such a grand scene truly opened the boy's eyes. At the center of the academy stood the Burning Heart Pagoda, an 18-story tower reaching into the sky. Suddenly, as Li Zai was entering, he asked, Old Bai, given our relationship, think you'll go easy on me? Bai Wangyu glanced at him like he was an idiot. If favors were worth that much, it wouldn't be your turn. The boy thought it over and agreed. Guess he'd have to rely on luck. As the tower doors opened, countless young elites poured in. From afar, Qin Wenma noticed Lu Rongnu and froze internally. So this woman really was in the academy. The fairy sensed it but ignored him. Instead, she frowned and gazed at the Burning Heart Pagoda. Little one, it's up to you this time. Once inside the Burning Heart Pagoda, the world around them instantly changed. Li Zai looked around at the misty world, trying to find Old Bai, but they were separated by the fog. Even someone standing right in front of you was hard to see. A palm attack swept the mist as a cold voice asked, Who's there? As the mist cleared, Bai Wangyu's figure slowly emerged. Yin Xiaoyu gasped, It's you? If we fight now, we'll just make it easier for others. Old Bai nodded in agreement, but she didn't intend to back down. As soon as she spoke, Bai Wangyu raised her sword. Righteous energy surged from her body. In the distant mist, Li Zai felt the true energy fluctuations, but still couldn't see who was fighting. Just as he stood in a daze, a powerful palm strike suddenly flew toward him. The boy snapped back to his senses, face changing. He raised his sword to block it with a loud clang. As the smoke cleared, a figure slowly appeared. Seeing the familiar white robes, Li Zai immediately recognized them as someone from Rumen. I'm friends with your senior brother. Let's not fight. How about we call it here? Seeing hesitation on the opponent's face, the boy quickly began to bluff. In the tower, you have to know when to pick your battles. For example, ignore someone like me who's on par with your senior. The young man nodded at that. He cupped his hands in salute, then turned and left. Li Zai finally breathes a sigh of relief. The Confucian school's people are all as naive as Old Bai, aren't they? With his silver tongue, bluffing and deceiving. The young man quickly reached the 17th floor, but he's left panting heavily from exhaustion. As he catches his breath, he spots that familiar Taoist robe again. Looking up, it's truly a narrow path for enemies. Old Bai, save me. Bai Wangyu mid-fight, turns his head, and sees that useless kid sprawled on the ground, with his second junior brother standing nearby. In that case, why not join forces to take them down? Yin Xiaoyu's expression darkens, his palms flipping. Blazing divine light surges forth. The 2 Confucian disciples dare not slack off, immediately unleashing their top strength. Outside the battle, Li Zai watches, his eyelids twitching. Truly a fight of immortals. Mortals beware. 1 against 2, the man gains the upper hand. Yin Xiaoyu, unwilling to prolong the fight, unleashes a world-shaking move. Vast divine might surges like waves, enveloping the battlefield. Bai Wangyu and Wen Xiu's swords align, carving a sword path through the raging waves. As the sword hilt pierces, blood slowly seeps out, but Yin Xiaoyu's expression remains unchanged. He seems completely unharmed. In that instant, the Confucian duo realizes the issue. This seems like a divine technique of Tianyu Hall, but isn't that reserved for 5th realm great practitioners? At that moment, above the 7th floor, wild winds rage like waves. Thin mist gathers frantically. Suddenly, lightning flashes and thunder roars. With a divine incantation, lightning instantly strikes. Outside the battle, Li Zai's face shows panic and rage. Struggling to his feet, he draws Chunjun, its sword chi dazzling. In the Burning Heart Tower, it traces a brilliant streak of light, striking Yin Xiaoyu's back. A splash of crimson spurts out. The other two are finally saved. Before vanishing, Bai Wangyu flashes a faint smile. Brotherly. A gentleman walks with a sword at his back. Li Zai doesn't care about such talk. He grabs old Bai, wanting to heal him. But this is the Burning Heart Tower. The figures of the defeated vanish from the tower. The three gradually fade and are ejected from the tower. At that moment, Li Zai suddenly snaps back. Panting, he heads toward the 18th floor. The pressure on him feels much lighter. It seems he's reached his destination. Li kid, you actually did it. Not bad. The Shounen turns to look. It's Kong Chiu sitting there. But he doesn't let his guard down, only politely bowing. Kong Chiu sets down his golden scroll and asks the Shounen, have you ever imagined standing here? Li Zai speaks honestly. After all, a man without dreams is no different from a salted fish. This makes Kong Chiu burst into laughter. He waves for him to sit. The Shounen grunts and sits. Parched, he grabs water and drinks. In 100 years, he's the first to dare drink in front of Kong Chiu, because others overthink. No one has ever dared do so. By the way, your master is with me. Your medicine king was traded for a year of her time. I also promised her to do something for you. Speak. What is it? Li Zai unhesitatingly says to give his master freedom. Kong Chiu chuckles lightly. It seems you guessed right. The Shounen doesn't know who Kong Chiu is speaking to. He learns it's his master. After a brief conversation, Kong Chiu's expression returns to its usual solemnity. Change your request. Your master doesn't want you meddling. Her cultivation has hit a bottleneck. Staying at the Grand Academy is best. After some discussion, Li Zai bids Kong Chiu farewell. Stepping on auspicious clouds, he arrives before the heavenly book. 3 names are carved upon it. Among them, Li Tai Bai, the first sword god. But why is Kong Chiu's name above his? Could Kong Chiu have lived for over 1,000 years? A little nobody dueling a group of peerless geniuses, surviving to the end by sheer luck. The victor's name will be etched on the heavenly book. Yet the Shounen deliberately dawdles. This irks an impatient disciple. Hey kid, what's with the stalling? Think it's not hot up there? Li Zai retorts with disdain. Whether I dawdle or not, it's none of your business. Got the guts to come up and bite me? The scolded disciple, hot-tempered, roars and stomps below, watching Li Zai win the verbal spar. The second junior brother can't help but admire Bai Wangyu's restraint. Finally, a Confucian disciple, fed up, seeks help from the Plum Blossom Fairy. Qing Shuang unsheathes, its sword chi-chilling. Amid the crowd's shocked gazes, the fairy slashes toward Li Zai before the heavenly book. Holy crap, fairy master. Before he can finish cursing, he turns to see that familiar, beautiful figure. If you keep blabbering, my next strike will cost you something. Li Zai gasps in fear. He quickly admits his mistake, but the next second, he's awkward again. He doesn't know how to carve his name. Damn, don't stop me. I'm gonna chop him dead. Qin Inliuo fumes, her hair practically standing on end. Luckily, Bai Wangyu stops her in time, saving brother Li's life. Before the heavenly book, Li Zai finally carves his name. Finishing, he shows a strange expression. A golden beam shoots to the sky. The Shounen stands, quietly waiting. The crowd below, seeing this astonishing sight, is stunned. This seems even grander than when Fu Jinluan entered the 5th realm in one step. Brother Li is truly a heaven-blessed talent. The Shounen smile grows increasingly smug, awaiting even greater power. Amid a massive roar, the second divine reservoir opens with a boom. The crowd below, seeing this, shows awe. He's indeed broken through. But this kid's only at the 2nd realm? Then didn't he cheat to beat Yin Xiaoyu? Above, Li Zai is also dumbfounded, unable to believe it's over. Unwilling, he taps the heavenly book, hoping for some new reaction. But then, a voice rises from the crowd. No way, I can't take it. I'm gonna kill him. Kid, get down here. Planning to celebrate New Year up there? Li Zai's face instantly shows fear. Oh no, did I just trash talk them? Will I get beaten to death if I go down? The Shounen starts to call for backup, but sees his master walking away. Even his beloved old Bai follows the second junior brother, drifting further. Seeing the crowd below rubbing their fists, Li Zai breaks into a cold sweat. At that moment, a golden light flashes, and he vanishes without a trace. When he opens his eyes again, he's in Kong Chiu's courtyard. Kong Chiu tosses him a shovel, eagerly inviting him to weed together. Li Zai takes the shovel, about to start, when Kong Chiu suddenly asks, Kid, is the place you came from much different from here? Seeing the Shounen pause, Kong Chiu continues, satisfied. From the moment you were born, I knew you weren't from this world. Li Zai stops pretending. He only asks who else knows. Learning his fairy master knows too. He breathes a sigh of relief. Actually, where I'm from, the skies are no longer blue, the water's no longer green. After several ice ages, most life has gone extinct. Hearing this, Kong Chiu instantly realizes he's talking about the eternal night. Stroking his beard, he looks intrigued. How did you survive that winter? Li Zai calmly says, by dying 4 times. Kong Chio's gaze grows deeper. So, the Eternal Knight's arrival is unsolvable. It will engulf all of Jojo. Seeing the mood, Li Zai quickly changes the topic. Let's not talk about far-off things. Let's discuss the present. Like reaching the 5th realm. Kong Chio flatly refuses. That's not something ordinary people can do. Why not join the Grand Academy and study together? Seeing the old man dodge the question, Li Zai storms off in a huff. As he leaves, Kong Chio, frowning, reminds him again. Li family kid, Wang Yu's tribulation is coming. Li Zai paused, swearing, as long as I'm alive, I'll protect old Bai with my life. Back in the courtyard, Jian Shi and Bai Wang Yu relentlessly teased Li Zai, but the young man ignored them, focused on eating. When eldest sister brought news of second brother's return, he was so startled he spat out his food. This was downright terrifying news. Thinking this, Li Zai stood up, dragging Bai Wang Yu to train martial arts. Because his second brother, Li Qingji, was terrifyingly strong, able to thrash him even with 2 meridians open. No more talk. Time to train. Bai Wang Yu grabbed him, saying he had a better idea. You can use your national scholar title to become an instructor. At the Imperial Academy, you can find instructors to guide you. Li Zai's eyes lit up, agreeing instantly. But meeting the other instructors at the Imperial Academy completely shattered his expectations. One moment, Bai Wang Yu was praising the instructors' refined manners. The next, curses rang out. Damn it. These little brats are impossible to teach. I want to slap them dead. The young man's jaw nearly dropped. Seeing Bai Wang Yu at the door, Instructor Yao hurried over. This is the Li family kid who subdued the heavens. Doesn't look special. Old Yao, don't judge by appearances, you know nothing. Li Qingshan exuded an immortal-like charm, the refined elegance Li Zai imagined. But Instructor Yao instantly called him out. Kid, don't be fooled by his looks. He's the Academy's biggest freak. Li Zai, confused, asked what that meant. Within the Academy, they call it the roar of dragon and sheep. Exposed, the man got flustered. Sparks flying, tension about to erupt. Stop bickering, it's annoying. The voice belonged to Qin Xiao, but when Bai Wang Yu saw her, he looked slightly terrified. What? Little Wang Yu, are you scared of me? Cold sweat poured down by Wang Yu's back as he shook his head. Instructor Chun is gentle and refined. How could I be afraid? Qin Xiao smiled satisfied, her gaze landing on Li Zai. I heard you invented that glass thing. Li Zai quickly shook his head, denying it. It was invented by an old gentleman in my family. Qin Xiao's eyes flashed with dangerous light. Where's that old gentleman? Take me to him. Li Zai sensed something off. Blurting out, he's dead. This perfunctory attitude clearly displeased Qin Xiao. In anger, she sent Li Zai flying with a palm strike. A mere second meridian weakling, relying on the emperor's bestowed doctoral title, teaching at a top academy about human anatomy and physiology. This news shocked the entire academy. Many disciples flocked to see, crowding the classroom inside and out. Li Zai first displayed a diagram of male anatomy, already making the disciples blush. As he prepared to show the female anatomy diagram, his ultimate move, urgent footsteps sounded outside. With an announcement, the disciples obediently stood aside. The Confucian elder entered, visibly displeased, dismissing everyone immediately. Kid, this is the Imperial Academy, not a brothel. Li Zai showed no fear, boldly stating it was the Confucian master's permission. He said I could teach whatever I wanted. The Confucian elder wanted to stop him with a warning, but the young man showed no intention of backing down. Gritting his teeth, he asked what Li Zai wanted. One must follow other paths. Seeing the Confucian elder's fury, Li Zai knew talks were futile, turning to call the disciples back to continue class. Wait! The Confucian elder quickly grabbed him, though burning with anger. He reluctantly agreed for now. Li Zai smirked, whispering to old Bai to run. Bai Wang Yu was confused, but seeing the beast-like disciples at the door, he instantly understood Li's intent. The two fled to the streets. Hearing that Princess Qingqing was the second most beautiful in Great Shang, they wanted to catch a glimpse. In the middle of the convoy's carriage, Princess Qingqing lifted the curtain, her stunning beauty making Li Zai drool. Bai Wang Yu looked at Li, speechless. At that moment, his body jolted, as if sensing something. A figure with a Buddha seal on their forehead. Isn't that Buddha's son, Sanzang? Hearing old Bai's introduction, Li Zai's interest peaked, waving and approaching to greet him. Sanzang's face stiffened, prompting Princess Qingqing to peek out from the carriage. She hurriedly called the driver to stop, rushing down. But looking around, she saw no sign of the young monk. Li Zai, witnessing this, was utterly incredulous. She's really chasing that monk. The heir grabbed his sister. Qingqing's face already streaked with tears. The princess, unwilling to give up, kept looking around, believing her young monk was nearby. Li Zai sighed at the scene. Such a fine cabbage, snatched by a pig. Bai Wang Yu turned abruptly, seriously saying he'd take Li somewhere. They soon arrived at an abandoned temple. where Sanzang was eating a hard-steamed bun. After exchanging names, Bai Wanyu stepped forward, asking, "Why has the Buddha's son come to Great Shang? The people here don't believe in Buddhism." The young monk's face showed a hint of sorrow. Then, he revealed the truth. Because Princess Qingqing is to be married. Li Zai nodded, as if expecting this. The next second, he slung an arm over the monk's shoulder. "Little monk, why live here? Come to my place. Food and lodging included. Besides, this rundown temple has an owner. In Great Shang, this is called trespassing." Seeing the monk waver, the young man feigned leaving. Sanzang's face showed struggle, finally giving in after a long pause. This made Bai Wanyu exclaim, "Impressive." An hour later, at the Li residence, Li Zai returned with 2 guardians at his side. This sparked wild thoughts in Hongzhu's mind. Other young masters bring home one girl after another, but he brings back men. Does young master Zai have some peculiar taste? Li Zai led Sanzang to the west wing, his future residence. Nudging old Bai, he whispered, "Squeeze something useful out of him for me." In his spare time, Li Zai naturally wanted to extort some powerful moves, since more skills never hurt. He deliberately invited the monk to spar, only to be sent crashing into a wall with one palm. Sanzang rushed forward, concerned. This gave Li Zai a chance to play the victim. "Ow, my bones. My spine. My waist." The young man rolled on the ground, wailing, demanding compensation from the monk. Overwhelmed, Sanzang was at a loss. He didn't know the Li kid was this weak. "How should I compensate you?" Li Zai flashed a sly grin. "Teach me a move." Sanzang paused, then clasped his hands. "Ba. Qingdang Temple's martial arts cannot be shared." Li Zai resumed his tantrum, rolling on the ground. His antics were like an old lady scamming for compensation. Even Bai Wanyu couldn't stand, urging Sanzang to teach Li a move. Sanzang looked troubled, then gritted his teeth. "I'll teach, but it must not be shared." Still on the ground, Li Zai raised a finger, swearing solemnly. Sanzang, seeing this, was speechless, asking what move he wanted to learn. Li Zai sprang up, noticing old Bai mouthing from afar, "Bodhi triple transition." Catching the signal, the young man repeated it. Sanzang's expression grew more troubled. Seeing the monk about to back out, Li Zai threw a full tantrum. Alps, Sanzang reluctantly agreed. Sanzang, with no choice, steeled himself to teach. After sending Bai Wanyu away, Sanzang raised his palm, radiating Buddhist light. Endless true chi formed, transforming into Buddhist light, which turned into golden ripples, creating a mirror-like protective aura. The radiant mirror light dazzled the mind, and Li Zai's face lit up with excitement. Xuanji drew the pure army sword and lunged forward. With a sound of metal clashing, the young man was instantly repelled. Even the arm holding the sword went numb. What a tough turtle shell. All defenses have their limits. One mustn't rely on defense and disregard all attacks. As he spoke, the little monk took Li Zai's wrist to check his pulse. After a long while, he withdrew his hand, his gaze clearly dulled and surprised. Donor Li has only opened 4 meridians. The young man gave an awkward smile, then took a palm strike to the chest. It was Sanzang bestowing him the form pulse technique. For the rest, he was on his own. With those parting words, he turned to leave. Li Zai was only given a few pointers, yet he instantly felt confident again. He followed Sanzang's example to circulate his true essence. A faint glow flickered, barely visible, but it lit up. It formed a bubble-like shield around him. Bai Wanyu was surprised. She didn't expect Brother Li to learn so fast. She stepped forward out of curiosity and poked it with a finger. The shield instantly popped like a bubble. The two locked eyes, awkward silence. Just then, a servant rushed into the courtyard. "Young master, Princess Qingqing will wed the crown prince in 7 days. And last night, 2 men had their hearts dug out by a demon. Rumor has it there's a heart-digging monster lurking around. Dozens of bodies appeared in just one night." Hearing that, Sanzang lit up with excitement. He insisted on slaying the demon no matter what. Li Zai originally planned to sneak away, but was dragged off by old Bai. Looking at the empty night streets, the boy grumbled nonstop. "It's so late. Those demons are probably asleep. Might as well catch them tomorrow." Just then, a gust of eerie wind blew past, making the already quiet night feel even creepier. "It's coming." At Bai Wangyu's cold snort, a mass of black mist surged down the street. A piercing laugh echoed throughout the road. Li Zai was still caught up in the excitement, until old Bai suddenly yanked him back and tossed him dozens of meters away. Bai Wanyu, ever smug, even gave a reminder. "Brotherly, if you don't use your Flying through the air, Li Zai cursed angrily. Xuanji quickly circulated his true essence. How Ran righteous chi manifested at once, forming a shimmering defense, which was shattered by the black mist in under a second. Unwilling to give in, the boy gathered energy in his palm. First, he launched a palm strike. then activated his true essence again, triggering the second layer of his turtle shell. A clear mirror rose into the air. In the dark night, golden light shone brightly. The mirror emitted ripples, deflecting the demon's attacks. Two people nearby sighed dramatically and praised each other's amazing techniques, chatting as they walked farther away. In the middle of battle, Li Zai caught sight of the two leaving and was speechless. He cursed at them bitterly, but before he could finish, the monster in the mist lunged again. It punched hard. Li Zai fell and crashed into the ground. Fortunately, the turtle shell protected him, or he would have been smashed to death. Damn you, you're addicted to hitting me now. You think I really won't fight back? Relying on others is useless. Li Zai unsheathed the pure army sword. Gritting his teeth, he glared at the black mist. The sword's cold glow was fierce. With sword in hand, he dashed forward, but the hilt was grabbed by the black mist. As they entered a stalemate, Bai Wangyu asked Sanzang, "Do you have any way to deal with this demon?" The little monk thought for a moment and mentioned Buddhist affinity. His chi of righteousness was the demon's natural nemesis. As they talked, Li Zai blocked an attack with gritted teeth. He stabbed forward with the bone sword in hand. Such a reckless move startled the black mist. The demon started to bleed at the wound. Black blood splattered on the ground and froze instantly. It must be the frozen night path that Rumen mentioned. If that's the case, then no need to hold back anymore. Flames blazed fiercely beside Li Zai. The little monk was serious now. With a muffled grunt, the young man suddenly threw his sword. A bone sword pierced through the black mist, stabbing straight into the demon's furnace. The demon coughed up a mouthful of blood. Unable to believe it had lost to a human, Li Zai traced a line of energy with his finger, pulled out the sword, and sneered. "You monsters are allowed to eat humans, but we can't slay demons." Bai Wangyu and Sanzang their expressions showing some restraint. Even they wouldn't dare face that strike head-on. The wounded demon collapsed into the ground. Suddenly, a powerful palm force shot through the night sky. It carried the exact same energy as before. Li Zai's heart leapt into his throat. There was no way he could dodge such speed. At that critical moment, an angry voice rang out in front of him. "I'd like to see who dares touch him." Seeing the newcomer, joy spread across Li Zai's face. "Isn't that my badass second brother? Looks like I'm saved." With a flip of his palm, Li Qingji forcefully blocked the deadly strike. Afraid of accidentally hurting his younger brother, he ordered that fool to wait aside, then leapt into action. The two behind him let out a sigh, endlessly praising his skill. In a gloomy mansion in the capital, Li Qingji arrived, full of rage. "Colluding with demons, you deserve death. Trying to kill my brother? You deserve it even more." A murderous aura radiated from him. With one sword and one man, his silhouette flashed. Thus began the massacre. In moments, the silver sword hilt was stained with blood, and the mansion was filled with corpses. He threw the bloodied sword hilt aside, disdain. "No one bullies my little brother but me." Back at the Li residence, Li Zai hid behind a tree, afraid to make a sound, clearly because second young master had returned. Hongzhu and Li Yue slowly walked out. Seeing his cowardly pose, they looked down on him. As they mocked him, Li Qingji strode into the courtyard. Li Zai hurried forward to greet him, wearing a flattering smile. As the saying goes, don't hit a smiling face. Surely his brother wouldn't hit him with such a good attitude? Unexpectedly, Li Qingji didn't even look at him, and walked straight to his elder sister. Li Yue's gentle face bore a warm smile. She praised her younger brother's effort, but Li Qingji didn't agree. He said hard work must be tested personally to be sure. Li Zai reluctantly followed along, shooting desperate glances at his elder sister. But Li Yue had no choice. He'd have to fend for himself. As soon as they entered the inner courtyard, he tried to escape. He thought help had come, but it only made things worse. Some people just need to be properly taught. As the saying goes, jade must be carved to be useful. Li Zai broke into a cold sweat. He tried to protest, but his second brother coldly drew his sword. The boy dared not speak and drew his own sword. He hoped to gain the upper hand, but the next second, cries for mercy echoed from the courtyard. Even Li Yue wanted to step in and stop it. "Don't worry, your brother still has some humanity. Let the boy learn his lesson." The elder sister reluctantly stopped. About half an hour later, when they arrived, Li Zai was already lying on the ground, nearly fainted. Seeing his pig-headed face, Hongzhu burst out laughing. Li Zai tried to speak, but could barely utter words. "What are you laughing at? He can still talk. He's fine. I'll get you some medicine." Still grumpy, the boy was furious, then quickly crawled over to his second brother. "So, how did you deal with those guys yesterday?" Li Qingji coldly replied with 2 words, "Killed them." Then a cold look filled his eyes. They were probably connected to people in court. I suspect their leader held a high rank. "Oh right, tomorrow I head to the northern desert. Stay here and protect our sister and the family. This journey carries bad omens. Be cautious in the city, all of you." Hearing this, Li Zai paused in thought. He connected it to what Rumen had said. Could this mean that time is approaching? the so-called reborn Buddha, is now trapped by Qin, so much so that he nearly lost control during seclusion. Li and Bai hurried over, only to see the little monk pretending to be calm. But seeing the blood on his lip, Li Zai knew he was lying. Fuming, he dragged him outside. If you can't pass the Qin trial, then you might as well enjoy yourself. With that, the three of them arrived at the brothel. The little monk blushed with embarrassment. The young man kept coaxing him. It's just a place to eat. Even the guide girl joined in, smiling and playing along. They barely sat down in a private room when singing girls swarmed in. Li Zai waved a handful of silver generously, asking the beauties to keep his brother's company. The guide girl leaned in, sweetly asking if she should stay with Li Zai. The youth blushed again, saying he was waiting for his Qingchuan fairy. Even the monk felt restless at home, so he went out to relax and drink tea. Sanzang, true to his vows, refused to drink wine, but Li Zai kept coaxing him. I think your Buddhist heart is unsteady. No wonder you're always troubled by inner demons. As they say, if Buddha is in your heart, all are Buddha. If tea is in your heart, then wine is tea. This nonsense made by Wang Yu break into a cold sweat. Even Sanzang fell into self-doubt. Is my Buddhist heart truly unstable? Seizing the moment, Li Zai continued. All things seen are illusions. To see the non-form in form is to see the truth. Got it. This whole world is an illusion. If you can stay true to your heart, you'll reach enlightenment. He raised his wine cup and downed it in one go as an example. This passionate speech deeply moved Sanzai. He bowed with gratitude. Even Bai Wang Yu was nearly convinced, asking where Li Zai had heard it all. Made it up. Just nonsense. Who knows? Maybe the monk will glow golden like Buddha. His words were like magic. The monk really seemed. He slowly closed his eyes to feel the world. When he opened them again, a third eye had opened on his forehead. Bai Wang Yu saw it immediately. It was the third realm of Buddhism. He couldn't help but mutter. One word to enlighten, a sage's gift. Li, if you can enlighten others, why not enlighten yourself? That comment made Li Zai so mad he wanted to bite him. Just then, he noticed the golden light fading from the room. Sanzang was no longer the naive monk he once was. There was a hint of calmness in his eyes. He quietly sat down in the host's seat and drank the wine in one go. The two others were stunned. They even thought he might have gone dumb from love. After exchanging looks, Li Zai knelt down, scratching his head as he asked Sanzang, "Do you know what was in that cup?" "It's tea. Very tasty." Hearing that, the boy froze and insisted it was wine. But the little monk no longer listened, lost in his own little world. He's really gone dumb. Trying to fix his mistake, Li Zai hurried to explain it was all nonsense. But how could Sanzang listen? He muttered to himself. As the saying goes, meat and wine pass through the intestines, but the Buddha sits in the heart. As long as the heart holds Buddha, even holding a butcher's knife is fine. Looks like he really misguided another one. Meanwhile, at the gate of a mansion, a man forcefully barged inside. He stormed straight up to a man in a wheelchair, yelling, "You really know how to stay quiet. Who would have thought you were the most cunning among us?" The crown prince propped up his cheek and calmly said, "This must be a misunderstanding." Mu Qing's expression darkened. "If it wasn't for your schemes, how would father have betrothed Qingqing to you?" "What? Just because you're a cripple?" The crown prince tried to respond, but Mu Qing shouted him down. "No matter what, I won't let Qingqing marry you." With that, he turned and left. Then a voice from behind pierced his heart. "I am crippled, true. But what about you, 11th brother? You can't even protect the woman you love. You're not even as good as a cripple." Those words struck Mu Qing's nerve. Raising his palm like a crashing wave, he struck at his own brother. But as the smoke cleared, he froze in shock. His palm strike was blocked by an elder's silhouette. "You again, you old dog?" Seeing he was outnumbered and overmatched, Mu Qing had no choice but to storm off angrily. He couldn't understand why his father would arrange this marriage. Could it be intentional? Stopping in his tracks, Mu Qing arrived at Chun Tower. Trying to relax, he went inside. That scene was witnessed by Bai Wang Yu. It looked like a great opportunity to make connections. Li Zai subtly signaled with his eyes. Old Bai reluctantly stepped up to make a move. Using his status as Rumin's senior disciple, he successfully brought the 11th prince over. As soon as Mu Qing sat down, he saw the little monk already drinking from the bottle, muttering nonsense all the while. "Li benefactor, you're right. All appearances are illusions, all fake. So this is tea." Such philosophical words. Mu Qing doubted Li Zai could have made them up. He looked at Sanzang in disbelief, asking if it was true. "It's fake. Fake. The monk's just drunk and rambling." "Then why is your highness in a bad mood?" Upon learning Mu Qing had stormed the crown prince's estate, Bai Wang Yu sighed helplessly. "The marriage is already set. Why fight it?" At those words, Mu Qing slammed the table. He was determined to plead with the emperor tomorrow to cancel it. Seeing all this emotion, Li Zai finally stepped in. "To untie the bell, seek the one who tied it. This matter needs the help of Qingqing's brother." Hearing this, Mu Qing's eyes lit up. He stood and rushed off to talk to the air. Watching him leave, Li Zai recalled what Rumen once said. Ching is a demon that eats humans. Could he have meant the princess? Unfortunately, the 11th prince couldn't stop the wedding, and soon came the day of the marriage. The wedding procession arrived at the mansion. The bride stepped out, veiled, under a maid's guidance. Her brother helped Ching into the carriage. This time, the princess neither cried nor protested. Under the regretful gaze of the heir of the Southwest King, the wedding procession slowly departed. The trio arrived just moments too late. Qing's brother was unaware of their intent. His face showed displeasure, until Sanzang said that Ching was in danger, because the princess once said she would rather die than marry the crown prince. Hearing that, Qing's brother tensed. He immediately called for a horse and rushed off. Meanwhile, at the crown prince's manor, an old monk had arrived, a fierce glint in his eyes. A golden barrier blocked the incoming attack. In that instant, the bridal veil was lifted, revealing the bride's crimson pupils. To become a true Buddha, one must abandon all worldly desires. Yet Sanzang, so close to transcendence, was held back by love. On the princess's wedding day, the little monk barged into the hall before the emperor. Even knowing his love was a demon, he still stood to protect her. Senior Fahai, must all demons be slain? The old monk nodded with a solemn face. If demons aren't slain, they eat people. Severely injured, Ching struggled to rise. She swore she had never eaten a human. Those words shocked Sanzang. He looked at the girl solemnly. Fahai seized the moment and unleashed the purple energy wave. Under the golden light, Ching groaned in pain again. Her body collapsed to the ground. Kneeling, she clearly couldn't hold on much longer. And when they learned the princess wouldn't just die, but her soul would be destroyed forever, Li Zai was horrified. So the old monk was this ruthless. Old Bai reminded him quietly. She's a demon. But the boy didn't care about all that. There is a line between good and evil. He turned to Sanzang angrily and said, "You fool, what are you standing there for? If you want to save us, we'll help you. Just don't regret it later." Encouraged, the young monk hardened his resolve. The blood-red Buddhist mark on his brow began to glow. He took the chance to block the Buddha's light of the Zijing wave. This enraged Fahai to no end, but Sanzang had already chosen to follow his heart, even if it meant defying his senior brother. "You two have been deceived by a demon? Then this medicine must not be allowed to spread." As he spoke, Fahai's expression turned completely cold. A drop of Buddha's blood flew from his fingertip into the Zijing wave. Instantly, the Zijing wave burst with an unmatched brilliance. At the critical moment, Sanzang formed hand seals and forcibly broke the seal on his forehead. A clear mirror, a flying platform. He suddenly struck down the Zijing wave. The casting monk suffered a backlash and spat out a mouthful of old blood. Just as he was about to stop them, he saw Sanzang carrying the princess and dashing off. Fahai was momentarily stunned. He raised his hand and ordered his people to chase them. At that moment, a loud roar echoed across the sky. A torrential rain poured from the sky. Everyone's vision was severely limited. Bai Wangyu didn't understand why Brother Li would defy the imperial court. Li Zai pondered for a moment, then firmly made his choice. "I don't care anymore. I can't just stand by and watch the two of them fall. Old Bai, go tell the Confucian head I want to see him." With that, the two split up. At the end of the street, Sanzang was sprinting with the princess in his arms. "Little monk, do you like me?" The warmth on his back and the sudden question left Sanzang slightly stunned. Pressed gently again, he finally said the word "like." The princess was already on her last breath. After hearing his reply, satisfied, she slowly slid off his back. "Little monk, I knew you would come. When I die, you must personally seal me away." Just as she finished speaking, her arm slowly dropped. She passed away in the monk's embrace. Sanzang refused to accept the truth and roared skyward. Tears at the corner of his eyes turned into trails of blood. His eyes became dark as smoke, with not a trace of light. When he stood up again, he was shrouded in black mist. Even the Buddha mark on his forehead had turned black. "Let's go, Ching. I'm taking you home." Just then, Li Zai rushed over. Seeing the familiar figure, he quickly ran up with medicinal pills. "These are pills I got from the Confucian sect. Take them first. They'll help your body recover." Sanzang glanced down at the person in his arms and declined Li's kindness. He wanted to take Ching to the far north. Maybe there would be a way. Even if not, he didn't want to live alone like a dog. With that, he walked forward without looking back. At the gate of Taishua Palace, Bai Wangyu was blocked by Fahai while holding the creature. "Hand over what you're holding." Seeing Bai Wangyu unmoved, the old monk stopped wasting breath. He summoned the Zijing wave to block the path ahead. The overwhelming gap in cultivation was impossible to bridge. Even Bai Wangyu, one of the strongest of his generation, was defeated in a single move. To buy time for Sanzang, Bai Wangyu suppressed his injuries and stepped forward, sword in hand. But Fahai directly grabbed the blade of the Tai's sword. "With your talent, perhaps in a few years you'll surpass me. But for now, put down the demon. Old Bai refused to give in. He was blasted back dozens of meters by Buddha's power. Yet even so, he didn't give up. He knew that if he retreated, Brotherly would be in danger. Thinking this, Bai Wanyu rose again, wiping the blood from his lips, ready for another round. Fa Hai dodged with just a slight movement, and struck Bai Wanyu's chest with a palm. With a muffled groan, he staggered back. Blood dripped from Old Bai's lips, worsening his injuries. In his mind, Li Zai's words kept echoing. That also became his reason to stand up again. A sword light pierced the darkness, dazzling. With blood as shadow, the sword's momentum shook the heavens. Its incredible speed left Fa Hai no time to dodge. This was not a technique from the Rumen sect. Bai Wanyu, trembling, called out the name of the sword move. This is Fei Xianju. Several instructors at the entrance of Taishua Palace were deeply worried. As soon as little Wanyu entered, they could step in to help. Of course, Li Zai had told him that, but it looked like this time he might break his word. Li Zai's image faded from his mind, and Bai Wanyu made up his mind. As the sword rose, blood sprayed and dyed its blade. A surge of blood energy burst skyward. One strike painted the sky crimson. He successfully trapped Fa Hai inside, but the caster couldn't hold on any longer. He collapsed with a loud thud. At the ruined courtyard, Li Zai rushed over. Suddenly, his body trembled. An indescribable dread stirred within him. But when he finally arrived, all he saw was Old Bai lying in a pool of blood. Enraged, Li Zai drew his sword hilt and unleashed a Facian strike at the old monk. Fa Hai countered with a violet crystal wave, emitting brilliant golden light to block the blow. Sword light and Buddhist light clashed. Blood stained the youth's lips. Fa Hai, feeling he had the upper hand, made an arrogant demand. Hand them over now, or I'll take you instead. Since he couldn't win, time to call for backup. Rushou, Fairy Master, if you don't act now, you can prepare to collect our corpses. Fa Hai was certain the Rumen sect wouldn't interfere, but the next moment, a sword hilt flew at him. At the gate stood the Plum Blossom Fairy. Cut the crap. You and I, one-on-one. If you're not down in 3 moves, I'll hand the boy over to you.